on time so that we'll be able to begin our meeting on time. Thank you, our Heavenly Father, for being our God, who is ready not only to listen, but also to answer our prayers, because you love us and you care about our needs. In Jesus' name I've prayed all this. Amen. Amen. You go ahead, serve breakfast, and come back and sit. And then wait for 10 o'clock to begin the meeting. Thank you. Thank you. Members, we are about to begin the meeting because the time is budgeted for, and so if we lose a single minute, then we will not gain it. So, by the way of testing those who are online, I would like to request someone who has already signed in online to greet us so that we test to see whether we're able to hear those who have already signed in online. Now, if someone greets us,
good morning,
then it will mean that the person has heard us. Okay?
hello,
Yes, I can hear someone.
good morning.
Yes, go
This
ahead
is
and mention
Costella
your
from
name.
Action for Health.
Okay.
Costella Action for Health Uganda.
Okay.
Happy to be here.
Thank you very much, Costella. Thank you for joining us in this meeting.
Thank you for inviting us.
Okay. Another one.
Hello. Hello.
Hello, go ahead.
This is Geoffrey.
Geoffrey.
I'm Geoffrey Adoma, the projects coordinator, Born Again Faith.
Okay.
Namaingo Hub.
Very good. Geoffrey, you're welcome. We can hear you properly. I hope you are also able to hear us. And that's good. We are able to know
Yes, please, I can.
that people who have signed in are able to hear us. I will go ahead and call the meeting to order. I would like to welcome you all to this important meeting, the Interfaith Religious Leaders Engagement Meeting on the National Health Insurance Scheme Bill. And I would like to welcome those who are attending physically at Rweza Training and Conference Center. I appreciate those who have been able to make it in time so that we would not lose time on beginning. And I know there is a lot of traffic jam, which means some may delay, probably it's because of rain, but that is understood. But that will not stop our program from running. What may hinder us may be the presenters. Would like to know from the Secretariat whether people who are responsible for presenting are in the room or are online. And having said that, I would like to welcome those who are joining the meeting virtually. We are glad that you all can join us. I've seen quite a number who have already signed in. You are all welcome. And of course, it's in order to begin our meeting with prayer. And I would like to, on the program, much as we have Apostle Joseph Serwada to lead us in prayer, I would like to request someone who falls in that faith, whether here in the room or signed in online, to lead us in an opening prayer. If you are in the line of Apostle Joseph Silwada, either in the room or signed in online, please lead us in an opening prayer. Thank you.
Thank you, MC. Let's humble ourselves and we pray.
Let's allow the one who is online to pray.
I'm online, yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Lord Father, we thank you for today. We thank you for the opportunity to serve our people. We thank you because this is the day you made. The Bible says, this is the day we made and we shall be glad in it. I know as men we purpose to do very many things. But Lord Father, it is by your grace and will and might that we accomplish whatever we purpose. Even today, as we go to this very important meeting, may your grace and the Holy Spirit guide us all through to its logical conclusion. And may every person who will contribute it for the will and the welfare of your people. Lord Father, give us that divine guidance and intelligence to do this for your will. We bless your name. In the name of our Lord Jesus Christ, I pray.
Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much. Please mention your name because it's going to be recorded in the minutes.
I'm Geoffrey.
Jeffrey.
I'm Geoffrey Aduma, Projects Coordinator, Born Again Faith, Namayingo Hub.
Thank you very much, Jeffrey, for leading us in the opening prayer. My name is Amos Magezi, the Bishop of the Diocese of Northwest Ankole, Church of Uganda. I've been appointed as a moderator or one of the moderators of this meeting, and I will request my colleague also to introduce himself and also to invite the one who is going to give us the opening remarks.
Thank you very much. All right, Reverend Bishop Amos Magezi. And once again, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Achilles Chwanuka. I'm a program officer with Partners in Population and Development, Africa Region Office. And briefly, PPDRO. I'm very happy and honored to be assisting you or a co-host of this Partners in Population and Development is co-organizing with 3FHI, this function. And on that to do, you have asked me, my Lord Bishop, to invite His Eminence, the Deputy Mufti, Sheikh Ali Waiswa, to give his opening remarks. But before I do that, I wanted to ask you whether you wouldn't like him to hear the people who are in the house. Do you want them to introduce themselves before he gives his remarks?
We don't have that time. We would be happy to get to know people who are in the house, and especially those who are online, but we don't have time. If you can do it quickly, probably by mentioning the name, what you represent, so that even those who are online are able to hear. Probably those who are around, then that would work. So since I've been requested to do it, let's go ahead. You mention the name, you mention the constituency you represent, and then you pass on the microphone to another person. Thank you.
Right Reverend Constantine Mponavingi, Executive Secretary, Uganda Joint Christian Council, and Board of 3FHI.
Reverend Chrysostom Akwech, Church of Uganda.
Bishop Makumbi, Miracle Center Churches.
Reverend Moses Semugoma, Church of Uganda.
I'm Dr. Ronald Kasiaba. I'm the Deputy Executive Secretary of the Uganda Catholic Medical Bureau.
Father Robert Mutiawa, the Coordinator of Health, Chindamitana Diocese, and UCMB.
Pastor Irene Nampima, Treasury to the Board, 3FHI.
Good morning, Faith Chateka. I work with Mary Stops Uganda.
Dr. Francis Runomi,
retired commissioner for planning at the Ministry of Health. I retired in 2015, and I was one of the architects of this National Health Insurance Scheme.
You're welcome, Dr. Runumi.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Joseph Kayanja from Born Again Faith.
You're welcome. He will introduce himself when he's speaking. Is everyone introduced in the room? Now, those who are meeting people who are online, you can very quickly go through the names of people who have signed in. We also request those who have signed in, if you can edit your name so that we see the body you represent, then that will help us. Even during the plenary, we can request people as they represent their houses. So I would like to request Achilles, if you can, either you or another person who can look at the screen for people who have signed in to mention them.
My Lord Bishop, the names is very difficult to introduce them. They are not that well edited.
Okay.
Can we give them, just in case it runs fast, but they unmute?
That one will not be possible because it's going to take long. To unmute, to talk, and then mute, and then do this and that. All that would take time, and yet we are on a budgeted time.
Exactly.
And so as we go, if there will be others as they continue to sign in, we'll be able to probably recognize them. So right now, let me call upon His Eminence Deputy Mufti, Uganda Muslim Supreme Council, Sheikh Ali Waiswa. My friend, you are welcome, and please give your opening remarks. Thank you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Sheikh Waiswa Muhammad Ali, the second Deputy Mufti, Uganda Muslim Supreme Council. I would like to take this honor to deliver to you the opening remarks at the Interfaith Religious Leaders Engagement Meeting on the National Health Insurance Scheme Bill. With the slight looking at Uganda, many people have to borrow, sell their property, assets, land, a car, goat, chicken, or forego food, get children out of school in order to meet medical bills. Those who have nothing to sell have nothing in their pockets to go to the hospital. They remain at home, suffer silently, and eventually die. There is low service utilization by the vulnerable and poor who resort to self-medication and underdosing, leading to health complications, resistance to medicines, disability, and even loss of lives. There are increasing cases of patients being detained in health facilities due to failure to pay medical bills, as seen in newspapers. The clergy and many religious organizations have had to chip to ensure their members get health care, and this trend is not sustainable. However, as we examine in this country, there is a high dependence on out-of-pocket expenditure, ranging from 38 to 42% of total expenditure on health, which pushes people into poverty. It is impoverishing and catastrophic, especially to the poor. Out-of-pocket expenditure refers to direct payments by individuals to healthcare providers at the time of using the services. They are sometimes called user fees or cost sharing. Number two, similarly, high dependence on external donor financing of around 42% makes the country vulnerable, especially if priorities of donor change abruptly. COVID-19 vaccine have shown us that most countries will seek to help their own first before they reach out to other countries. This means funding can be cut at short notice, and the population that has been depending on aid will suffer. Number three, government spending on health is low and almost stagnant. Over years, at around 7 to 8% of the total budget compared to the country's commitment to their budget target of at least 15% of GDP at health needs are ever increasing. Unfortunately, you can never be certain about when illness may strike, yet any delay or failure to get medical care at the time of need due to lack of cash could result into serious complications or of loss of life. Without proper and timely treatment, even simple preventable illness can lead to health complications and overburden the healthcare system. National Health Insurance Scheme. Much as government strives to provide free health care services at the point of use in government health facilities, the reality on the ground is different. Consequently, a big proportion of the health expenditure is from households paying cash to healthcare providers when they seek healthcare out of pocket. A health system is considered to be properly financed if people do not incur high costs to access services, or they do not face financial barriers in accessing health services. Most importantly, that they do not become poor due to high costs of healthcare. Uganda needs a health financing system that is fair, where resources are pooled in one basket, where people do not have to pay cash to access healthcare services, and the burden is spread across the population. To us, this is the role that National Health Insurance Services will and shall play. We applaud the Parliament for passing the National Health Insurance Services Bill on 31st March 2021. The passing of the bill concluded a 34 years struggle. The bill positively includes a very comprehensive list, preventive, a promotive, and curative services based on the Uganda National Minimum Health Care Package, as well as a wide range of family planning information and service. The bill has factored recommendations and concerns from multiple stakeholders, including: 1, the bill does not specify the amount or percentage to be contributed as premium in order to allow flexibility and inclusion during the development of regulations. This will ensure that premiums do not increase the cost of doing business or become an extra burden to the employees. 2, the bill recognizes the coexistence of the private health insurance schemes as providers of complementary health insurance packages, since the private health insurance packages go beyond the National Health Insurance Services one. 3, people will make contributions based on their ability to pay. Those who are unable to pay will get a subsidy from government and donations. All beneficiaries will get services from approved services providers by presenting a membership card instead of cash. This scheme will have a board with members composed of key stakeholders and technical secretariat team led by the managing director. Number 4, the scheme will be financed by employee contributions from the formal and informal sectors as opposed to taxes or community-based health insurance. 5, the scheme has a progressive resource pooling mechanism where the rich subsidies for the poor, the healthy subsidies, the treatment of the sick, and the young subsidies, the treatment of the elderly. 6, a mandatory percentage contribution by all salaried, formally employed adults to be deducted from their total monthly wage salary. 7, self-employed and informal sector workers to contribute a fixed lump sum payable annually or as deemed effective. 8, establishment of National Health Insurance Scheme as a new nationally led entity and its administrative functions. 9, all government / public health facilities, hospitals, and health centers will be accredited as opposed to automatic qualification to be service providers under the scheme. Private PFPS and NGOs, faith-based facilities, will be official providers under the National Health Insurance Services after an accreditation process. Number 11, all accredited providers will be paid by National Health Insurance Services for services rendered under the scheme's benefits package to the scheme card bearers. Benefits of health insurance. We do recognize that National Health Insurance Services has many benefits, including benefits to general population health service users, which include timely use of services, no financial barriers, since people do not need cash to be treated. Reduced or no payments from individual pockets, out-of-pocket expenditure when people seek services. Reduced expenses limits impoverishments. Solidarity among members who contribute due to cross-subsidization. The poor are subsidized by the rich, the old are subsidized by the young, and the sick are subsidized by the healthy. Enables communities to spend on saving life other than on burial expenses. So, benefits to the government / economy that the National Health Insurance Services scheme brings additional funding to the health basket pool, especially from individuals who can afford. The National Health Insurance Fund also attracts development partners, global financing initiatives, and private donors, philanthropists, who can buy cards for general population or a particular group of the population that cannot afford, like in Ghana, Kenya, and Rwanda. The National Health Insurance Services reduces conflicts among social classes. For instance, working classes, informal sector, public or private, rich or poor, and urban or rural. Since all members are entitled to a specified package that is available and accessible, all will have a health card. Increased demand for quality services and accountability by citizens, since they will have contributed under the scheme, thereby reducing the burden of government of supervising service providers. Competition among health services providers in national health insurance services will keep prices of healthcare services low for the government and purchaser, and to provide a good package of services. Currently, anybody can charge any price for any service with very big variations from one provider to another without provider justification and regulation. It enables government to improve quality and expand service coverage fairly, equity in access, and better identification, targeting of vulnerable members. We can determine who deserves assistance through needs-based targeting compared to the current situation. Stimulate private sector development of the economy and a healthy population that is productive. So national insurance, health insurance services will demonstrate Uganda's commitment to regional and international frameworks with regard to universal health coverage. We can also look at benefits to the private sector services providers, employers, and employees. There will be increased participation by private sector in the provision of health care to the insured population, investment opportunities in health insurance activities, increased accountability and responsiveness by those who provide services to clients to attract more clients and remain in business. Employees who are assured of health care and can access it easily are more likely to be more productive due to limited absenteeism, more concentration, and commitment to work. Policymakers and legislators. The National Health Insurance Services separates roles and responsibilities for purchaser/buyer, fund holder, National Health Insurance Service Fund, regulator, Ministry of Health, and other relevant bodies and service providers, hospitals, and clinics. This reduces inefficiencies and increases accountability by various players. National Health Insurance Services reduces the burden of demand by electorates from legislators and other leaders for medical bills. So the purpose of today's convening, we are gathered here today to deliberate on this important national agenda, add our voice to the ongoing national health insurance service dialogues and issue a joint statement in support of the urgency to conclude the National Health Insurance Service legislation. I welcome you in today's deliberation and thank you for listening to me.
Thank you so much. His Grace, His Eminence, the Deputy Mufti, Sheikh Ali Waiswa. Thank you so much for that resounding introductory to this meeting. You really cut it around fast for us, and you make the work of the rest of this meeting easy. Now we are really ushered into why we are here, and those are very important points. You have pointed on a word that I think our consequent speakers will also try to explain: the out-of-pocket expenditure and how it impoverishes the households and individuals for health. Thank you so much, and I think you deserve another round of applause. Thank you so much. Before I call upon our first speaker, I wanted to introduce somebody who has just joined us a while ago as we started. Mr. Patrick Mujirwa, the Program Manager of PPDRO, Partners Population Development, the organization partnering with 3FHI for this function. Most welcome, Mr. Mujirwa. Now, why do we stay so long before we listen to the one and only Dr. Francis Runomi? Dr. Francis Runomi, we shall ask you to come and address and speak to us from the podium, if you don't mind. And as you come, I must say once again, you have said, I repeat, you're a retired commissioner for planning. You're planning for the Ministry of Health. You're retired. But you have also been a leader of Alternative Health Financing Initiative while in that ministry, Alternative Financing for Health. You worked on policies to introduce the user fees so that people go, when they go to the hospital, they also pay some money. I don't know how you did that. You'll explain to us. But most importantly, you established the first community health insurance scheme in Uganda, in Ikisizi in 1994. If you allow me, I would say you went away and you became LC5 chairperson of Kawali, but then you came back to the ministry and then you retired. Most welcome. The people here, the house, you have had them introduce themselves, are urgently eager to listen to you. What do you have to say about, the past? What is the history of this whole business of so many years legislating for national health insurance scheme? What has happened in the past? Where did we come from? And after here, what reflection do you give us that Parliament has passed this bill? Most welcome, Dr. Francis Runomi.
Thank you, Achilles. Good morning, everybody. I must take this as an honor to be here, to share with you a few of the things I worked on and then left to the village without any recourse. And I was feeling sad that a lot of information and knowledge was going to decay in my gardens of coffee, cabbages, and Irish potatoes in Kavale. Thanks for calling me back to share a few things I take dearly in my life. Your Eminence, I listened attentively to your remarks. I think that is the creed of the National Health Insurance. All the key points actually were highlighted. And if we were to take them seriously and believe them, and after that, take action, I'm telling you, the terrain of health care giving in this country would totally and fundamentally change. But we have had issues, as I will talk about them, and we need to combine our energies, our efforts, to ensure we move this thing since the Parliament has already passed the bill. I've been asked to talk about the past, now, and the after. And as Achilles has introduced me as having also stepped in the political arena, I can talk until cows come back. But I'll try to avoid that lane and be brief and concise to the point. It has been a long journey.
Yes, I've been told that they will give you strictly 30 minutes, counting from
For
now.
sure, and in my preparation of slides, I was trying to fit in that. So, the first slide, the purpose of the scheme. Your Eminence, you talked about this. This is where we are talking about cross-subsidy in terms of payments for health care. We are a society which is not homogeneous. We have the rich and the poor. We have the low risk, we have the high risk. We have the young, we have the old, we have the productive and the non-productive. But we are one society and we value each other. We cannot live as teachers alone, doctors alone, nurses alone. We must mix up and live as a society. All of us have something to contribute. But when it comes to financial contribution, at the time when you need medical care, almost everybody finds big problems. I don't know in this room how many of you have saved for medical services. How many of you have insurance? Just put your arms up for 1, 2. The rest, even myself, my arm is down, much as I know a lot about this stuff. We do not save for that eventuality when you need medical checkup. How many of you have not panicked in case yourself or your relative or your close person falls sick? We all panic. Why? When you go to a clinic, to a hospital, you've gone with a headache, you've gone with a fever, you have abdominal pains that cannot be explained, your leg is paralyzed, you don't know actually what the doctors will tell you. They will take history, they will examine you, they will send you to the laboratory, and finally they will treat you as an outpatient or admit you to give you further treatment and investigations. And the worst, they may refer you to the higher facility or even outside the country. None of us ever knows the cost implication of decisions made by people on the other side of the table, the clinicians. You go with a simple headache, and they start telling you, my dear, my Lord Bishop, I think this small fever you brought and headache could be a serious problem. From the scan, we realize there is a mass growing in your left lung. We have discovered your liver is also enlarged. Can we do blood tests? Did you go for blood tests? No. We also need to do this, we need to do this. But let them first pay there. How much? 700,000 shillings. Mama, we are not getting this money. That is at investigation stage. My Lord Bishop, we are not releasing you to go back home. I think you stay here for 3 days for observation. During the observation, a number of things are done. The bill has claimed it what? To 2 million. Did you have that money? Have you saved it? Banange mukubira omwana ajje wano ebintu nga bisobye. Your son is in the ginger now, has to come. Misses the day the other side. That is production lost. The fuel and the rest. I mean, there are costs on your son coming. And so on and so forth. If you look at the economic loss, due to lack of a system that can secure your money, I mean your financial woes when you fall sick, it's incredible. We don't hold our calculators to see how much we lose by being disorganized. We are so disorganized, almost in every sphere. And the economic loss is just incredible. I know 5 minutes have gone. Now, given that we have lived that kind of life, we simply cannot afford to continue with the status quo. When you go down, the previous slide, please. This cartoon is one of my favorite ones. Many people know where health services actually are. Even when the government says you will get free services, they know where the hospitals are, the health centers are. Government. But when they reach there, with a clear policy of free services aired by every politician, they find they cannot access the pharmacy. They don't have the money. You've heard Chirudu here. There is a private pharmacy inside. Kawempe, Mulago, private pharmacy in a public facility. How do you go there to pick free drugs? The government, the minister will tell you, we give you free drugs. The National Medical Stores is well stocked. You go to social media, they tell you, National Medical Stores prices are too high. They are overpriced. So I think we need to start playing a fair game. You deceive others, but don't deceive yourself. Eh? So this game of political deceit needs to come to a check. There are no free things. There is no free lunch. So our friends, you see the old man, the wife, the muzukuru, and the rest, the line goes beyond Kajansi. They cannot access health services because they are not free. That is challenge number one. When you say that, the politicians will not be happy. They are going to be half day. Whether you are NRM saying, you go when you are sick and NRM, your NRM is a facility, we shall see. You will be the first one to say Chiwani. Okay? Because on health, there is no politics. You are a woman, you want to deliver your baby, whether she's a NOP baby, whether NRM baby, whether FDC, you want to be treated like a mother, human being, with all the dignity and no accidents. So, good quality services need to be assured. You underline, bold, capital, and whatever. All cost money. All cost money. So, this phenomenon is not new. Next. That cost cannot be borne by an individual. Everybody in the society who needs that service must somewhat carry the burden. Your Eminence, when you are driving your car, the police will stop you. Not so. What is it checking for? Third-party insurance. Or road license. All those. They will check whether you have insurance wherever it is applicable. Which one? The car, a metal, an engine. Which one? For the road. Naye gwajivuga, the one who is driving your life, the most precious and the only thing you have, no insurance. Can you imagine how we at times address things in an upside manner? Why don't you insure my life and forget about the car? Everything is insured except your life, your wife, your son, your children, your relative, your worker. And we say it's okay. Why? The Mzungu brought it that way. The way we took all the stupid education we have been wasting years on, that doesn't transform Uganda. I was looking at my degrees, about 5 of them. I'm saying, but now I'm in the village farming. What were these for? Speaking English, passing tests, and grade A, B, brilliant doctor. When it comes to survival, I realized I should have known how to do value addition by that time. Anyway, that is Rugambo aside. Next. I think this is my biggest slide, and I'll take some good time on it. I couldn't make slides out of my institutional memory, but I want to tell you that my struggle to work on alternative health financing mechanisms is as old as the NRM government. The moment NRM came, it coincided with the World Bank dictating to African countries that, look, you guys every year we see you coming in droves to Washington to borrow money. You borrow, and I hear Bahati still borrowing. You borrow. Where are you putting this money? Education, health, and other social services. You are not investing in the economy in this way, this way, this way. So we are now requesting you and actually directing you as an agenda for reform to do your social structural adjustments. That was not good, but they were dictating it. That's when I jumped into the game in 1987. We traveled to Washington, and they went through all the parameters of the African continent, Southeast Asia, etc., and really showed that it's high time all people who are receiving services participate in financing of the services. And they were using Francophone countries. The Francophone countries did not give any free social services. Traditionally, you go to Rwanda, Burundi, Cote d'Ivoire, everywhere you find that health or medical services were always taken as a medical product or commodity that somebody has to purchase. So that kind of culture enabled different schemes to be introduced in these Francophone countries. On the contrary, the Anglophone countries, Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Uganda alike, government was supposed to provide based on the model of Britain. And they had very strong points that time to give free services. I remember coming to Mulago in 1969 to see my mother who was sick. Entry time was very strict. We were not carrying any luggage. There were no caretakers. Why? She entered as a patient who had been referred from Cavalry. She was given a gown. She had bed sheets and 2 nurses to look after her. Food was much better than what we were eating in our house. So, why bring in this poverty and that from the village? But in 1969, the population of Uganda was only 9 million. And the economy was growing at 5% per annum. Cotton, copper, tea, coffee, etc. were all bringing in a lot of money. And the colonial master was also still giving some good subsidy. So affording good health services for free looked real. Amin, of course, came in the 70s and distorted everything. Then we started the wars of the 80s up to 1986. That time everything was going down, down, down in the terms of social service provision. And many countries were experiencing something similar, by the way. It was not Uganda alone. So by the time the NRM came in 1986, our services had gone literally down. I don't know how I would describe them. You, many of you were around and old. You must have seen how difficult things were that time. So the structured adjustments by the World Bank were reality. They had very good examples. So we came here, and 1988, the first attempt to tell government that it is wrong to give free services because they are not there was met with resistance. I went to the Minister of Health, by that time Dr. Wakana Rugunda, and I had a team of friends from UNICEF. We told him that we wanted to start a pilot project of charging user user fees in a government facility. I was the in charge of Kasanga Health Center at that time. And we were being supported by a donor, Minnesota International Health Volunteers, who are about to go back. And we realized by them pulling out their little funding, the community around Kasanga was going to miss. So if we asked the community to pay something, they would possibly do what? Sustain the services. And we had done a lot of consultation with the RCs of all those villages around Kasangati, as far as Wambo, as far as Kawanyoro, and other places. So Rugunda said, young man, you have just come out of the medical school. Why are you so ambitious? The policy is clear. We liberated Ugandans to give them better services. Why do you think you can turn around things you are yet to learn? You have just come out. Why don't you first treat patients and you stop there? I told him about my meeting in Washington. He said, yeah, it's okay. I know you young people are always ambitious, and it's okay, but give it time. I went to the Director General. That time was called Etiono, Dr. Etiono. Said, by the way, the idea you have, young man, is okay. Since you are in Kasangati under Makerere University, why don't you go and disguise your effort as a study? So we wrote a proposal as a study, and it was cleared by the Director General. We went to Kasangati, consulted all the people, they accepted to pay a small fee. Every person who comes pays a small fee, and there was a management committee to manage that fee and sustain the services. Within 1 year, it was very successful. We went to Jinja and made a presentation. Everybody was shocked. First, how did they break the policy? Two, how have they become so successful? And from then, the minister, good enough, had changed. This time we had Zach Kaheru. Said, I think this is something we can roll out. Why don't you draft the guidelines? We went into recession and drafted the guidelines. Quickly, it was adopted as a policy of the ministry. The president was informed. He was not happy, but he was informed. He said, okay, let me see how it works. The thing caught like wildfire, went around the country. But because the governance around it was very weak, I remember on 29th January 2001 at Peche Stadium, when the president was campaigning, he said, no, this thing must stop. People have been given a ticket to extort money from the patients, and the money, when I asked how much it was generating, it was not more than 5 billion in the whole country. I think we can mobilize this money through budget savings. And that's how user fees were killed in the 2001. There was an issue of poor governance and poor monitoring by the Ministry of Health. Subsequently, the corruption, you know, and the mismanagement we have in the system killed it. But that didn't stop the effort. Alongside the user charges in 1993, when the decentralization was being introduced, we started exploring the possibility of community health financing. So we again designed, according to guidelines from other countries, a scheme and went to Kisizi. In 1994, we established the first community health insurance scheme. Many people around Kisizi were very resistant, but we showed them the logic behind it. One, they had Ngozi schemes, they had Batakakwezika schemes, and we said, why do you always want to, why do you always wait for your person to die? Then you have money in your pocket to help you celebrate his death. You are burying yourself. Said, supposing this Chigambo Kwezika, we reversed it, and it becomes Bataka Kwechiza. Bataka saving themselves. It started sinking. We asked them how much they can contribute themselves. They are the ones who decided how much, who was going to keep it, and how they were going to take it to Kisizi Hospital. Within 1 year, when we evaluated Everybody was happy. One old woman whose operation was going to take 300,000 shillings had been operated at just a gate fee of 5,000 shillings. She went and told it of the mountain. And now all villages in Rukunjiri, Kabale, Kisoro were saying, Banange, where are you people? Why have you left us out? Within a very short time, Ruwera and the Makaides were also saying, let's start ours at Chiwoko. Rukunjiri started, the Kasese started, but it had different challenges, which I'm not going into because other presenters will make, but we started community health insurance. We went to the faith-based organizations, your organizations. I remember in Kabale, the Catholic Church was in front, the Protestant Church was in front. We organized those community-based health insurance schemes. And the people were benefiting, but the money was very little, and the administrative overheads were quite high. 1996, we got involved with the Germans from Hanover. We went to Germany and saw how the sickness funds were working. They came over, I took them around the country, and they said, well, the concept of insurance was not well understood, but if we did more sensitization, we had the ground to introduce insurance. 2001, Harvard University came. Working with the School of Public Health, they did the first feasibility study and found the thing was feasible, beginning with the formal sector. They also prescribed how the informal sector can come in producing money for social health insurance. We continued struggling, consulting, sensitizing, and listening to the people. Eventually, we came up with a position paper, which we sent to Cabinet. And in 2006, the Cabinet issued instructions, directed the Ministry of Health to issue instructions to the first Parliamentary Council to draft principles for social health insurance. Now, many other things had been incorporated based on the consultations we had made. And the journey now accelerated. We did wide consultation around the country. All stakeholders were quickly identified and addressed. I remember addressing the first faith-based meeting in 2007. I think the chairman, if I can recall, was Bishop Sekamanya. Yeah, of Mukono. Now, that time, I think he was around. We even consulted the traditional people. Benny Guru was their chairperson that time. And everything was saying, please, this thing is late, this thing is late. It should have come many years before. Now, in 2009, we had reached the stage of presenting the first draft parliament. But what did we meet? The manufacturers led by Mulwana, the late Mr. Mulwana, went to the president and said, why? This thing is going to demand us to pay money for our workers. And you know, Your Excellency, we have been struggling. The cost of doing business is going to go through the roof. Transporting our materials from Mombasa to here is very costly. That time, electricity was a big problem. The units of electricity are quite high. The taxes are quite high. Now, when you bring this thing, everything will collapse. And you know, as ever, even today, the president has a very sensitive spot for the manufacturers. Wrote to us and said, please, you people, you wait. There are some people who still need to be consulted. Once you see that signature, you just remove your batteries. So we halted. What can you do? Now we sought at least the audience to share what His Eminence has just read. Those points, Your Eminence, are as old as what? As health and mankind in Uganda. But they had been synthesized through consultation. We said, His Excellency should be able to pick them up. We couldn't, of course, quickly get the appointment. But he himself one time came and said, by the way, you people who are talking about insurance, this thing seems to work. Recently, I had a visit of the Prime Minister of Thailand. This lady, Chinawatra, told me that in their family they have remained in the power because the father in 1971 is the one who introduced health insurance and it has sucked in everybody and they are happy. Seems there's something good. Why are you late? I was too excited. You have never seen me excited like that time. So we went through the elections of 2011. Shortly after that, we are now expecting it going to Parliament and he's waiting for it to sign. But somewhat again, the manufacturer said, Your Excellency, 2009 we were with you as our father, you know. The thing again went down. And why are we talking about His Excellency the President? Why have I spent some minutes on him? Almost all countries which have successful health insurance have the word of the President. 1995, in some of our errands, we met Tanzanians in Nairobi and went to a place called Chogoria where they had a Christian health insurance fund. It was like a private insurance fund. And we got all the key points to go back and start. The Tanzanians went back, made a quick presentation in the 2 years to Ali Hassan Mwinyi, who was the president. 2000, they were rolling out the scheme. We went to see how they started, and we found they were using the same notes we had on our clipboards. As we talk today, Tanzania stands at 33% coverage. They had issues, they have overcome issues. Tanzania almost had no health centers. And the question was, why are you sure people have nowhere to go? So for 2 years, they were collecting money, not spending any. When they rolled out, they said, even if you are under a tree and you want to be in the insurance scheme, we shall give you money. For 2 years. The third year will kick you out if you have not put facilities in place. What did the health workers do? They started the private clinics, church-based organizations, Muslims. They started clinics everywhere. By the 4th year, Tanzania had built an infrastructure without spending a penny from their treasury. Now the scheme is improving, growing, improving, growing. Tanzania is on the way to 100. Rwanda, because it is a francophone country and they had that culture of paying, with very strong Kagame. Without insurance, it is like you don't have a national ID. Where is your insurance? We went to Imidugudu and Ubudehe. These are their own village organizations. They know every person, and someone will tell you that neighbor of mine is not insured.
5 more minutes.
Thank you. I think, yeah. Now, as they were doing all of that, they rose to 98%. Even at the village, my Lord Bishop, where people may not have money, they ask Kachiris, but your neighbors, we are looking for only Mitwaro Nsamvu. If you paid for them, we recover them. So Makere will just scratch, Kachiris will scratch his head and say, okay, let me cover my neighbors. These are my uncles, my aunties. That's how Rwanda is working. The armed forces doing the same. Kenya has improved what it was doing. They are very far. We went to Nigeria and Ghana. They had similar problems of starting. As I talk now, Ghana has moved to 46%. Yeah? Uganda here, the insurance we have is for the private voluntary people who go for it. What percentage are we talking about? 1%. We've been marking time. 30 years marking time. So this is very dangerous. We can move to the next slide, please. I mean, the story is long. I cannot fit everything there because I've seen it all. But with time, I should be able to do what? To keep giving my experience. So when money is put in a basket and it is available, and the guidelines are very clear, you'll be shocked how it will stimulate providers to avail good quality accessible and affordable health care for those who have the card, those who have paid the premium and are insured. And it is going to diversify and strengthen healthcare financing and make a contribution to bridging the financing gap in the sector. Of course, once everybody is assured of good health, then the welfare gain through financial risk protection and ensuring that everyone has financial access to health care will be achieved. Next. Why are we having all these problems? The population has been growing, ladies and gentlemen. This has been almost our growth rate for a long time. Every year we have been adding 1 million. When movement came in, 1986, we were about 16 million people. Today we have added on 24. We are at 40. So that is not a small figure. And as the population grows, the economy is not growing in a commensurate trend. The economy is either stagnating or going downwards because corruption has also grown. We have seen changing patterns of disease and epidemics. HIV arrived when we were already in the struggle to improve services. Recently, COVID came and disturbed everything. TB, which had been controlled, is back with vengeance. Then we also have been making investments in the health sector, even the private sector. Every investment they make, it has a recurrent cost implications. So if you don't budget for that, then you have issues. Then we have external economic pressures, including high commodity prices outside, because we produce nothing. Almost everything in our medical premises is imported. Now when the prices go up, whatever you're contributing becomes less and less. I think I may not go through all those. We had the constitutional mandate, the national policy, HSSP. All these things have been emphasizing that we need to have the national health insurance. And this was spearheaded by the ministers of health. So recently, when the minister was withdrawing the bill from parliament, I said, oh my God, this is Rio Katemba. You work on your thing for 30 years, and for some reason you are not articulating, you are withdrawing the bill. Good enough, the parliament didn't do what? Withdraw it. So the NDP presidential manifestos in 2006, 2011, 2016, they were all talking about having health insurance. Vision 2040 emphasizes it. National health policy has been enlisting this thing. So there has been emphasis that we should take that direction. Next. Next slide. Yes. My Lord Bishop, I know I have 2 minutes, but I will beg your indulgence that I take 3 minutes on this. Now, many times we talk, but when you don't have facts and figures in place, the picture remains blurred. So last night, I took some time to look at the national health accounts, the recent national health accounts of the Ministry of Health. This is not data from anywhere, not from Google. This is from their document. It shows how much money actually is available for health. In the fiscal year 2016-17, we spent as a country, that's total health expenditure. If we look at that column of 2016-17, we spent 4.479 trillion shillings on health. And that translates into $37.3. I mean, for 37 million, it translates into 127,000 shillings per head. Are we together? Now, when you go to the next column, WHO recommends that developing countries, if we are to attain the universal health coverage by 2030, each year we should be spending $86 per person. That's the money calculated that can give you the basic health package that you actually need. So that year, when we spent 4.479 trillion shillings, WHO's estimate was that we should at least have spent 11 trillion 389 billion. Now, when you consider what we spent and the shortage we had, according to the WHO estimate, we had a shortage of 6.69 trillion, that shaded figure. If you go to money required per capita, as per WHO estimate, it should have been 306,000 per capita. We had a shortage of 179,000 per capita. So meaning, to have a basic healthcare package funded, we had a shortfall of more than 50% of what is required. You can translate the same explanations to the subsequent years, 2017, 18, 2018, and 2019. We always had that shortfall of more than 6 trillion. We always had a shortfall of 184,000 per person. So there is no money we are putting in health. Next slide. Now, if we look at the current funding, even with that small money, 4.7 trillion spent in 2016, let me call that 100% of money which was spent on health. 4.7. But remember from the previous slide, this was less than 50% of what was required. You will find the government is contributing only 17.2% to this 100%. The private sources out of pocket, what is paid through the faith-based organizations, we are contributing 39.1. And actually out of pocket, I didn't put the figure there in that document, it is 37% what you pay out of pocket. Development partners, you said a global fund, what they contribute 43.6% as of that year. So who was in the driving seat for health financing? It was a development partner. Number 2, you and me. Number 3, government. And the pattern is the same. The most recent year, 2018, 2019, government contributed 17.2. Private sources and development partners each contributed 41.4%. If we went to 2019, 20, and 2021, I bet those figures for government are lower. Has the population gone down? It is going. So the gap is getting wide, and wider. Do you want to ask me questions why we have poor health services, therefore? We buy, these things we buy. Whether you hide your head in the sand, if money is not on the table, forget about it. I hear nurses and midwives are striking. For what? For lunch. How much? 1,000, 15,000. Honestly, you people, you eat. What is a meal of 15,000? We can't even afford it. How do you expect a woman to stay in the maternity the whole night delivering mothers, and in the morning she can't afford a riandazi and a cup of tea? They will go away. We churn out more than 400 health workers per year. All institutions, public and private. No job. Our health centers, empty. Can't we do something to get them out of school into our health facilities? The glue is. So unless we find new sources of money to supplement what you have already seen here, government should also do what? Raise. Rather than, bloating the administrative budget and the defense budget. They also look at this. Because we need to be healthy. If you are now interested in beefing up defense, defending the dying, defending the graves, it is self-contradictory. There should be a balance. We need to move up. Private sources, we have already paid and we are finished. And who are finished? The few who are capable. Others, as His Eminence put it, they gave up long ago. When somebody falls sick at the village, father, bagende bayite father tusomese. Father doesn't come with Panadol. He's actually telling you, fika salama. You see what I'm saying? But father also is interested in a congregation. Mufti, you're interested in a congregation of people who are healthy. Even if we later kabbo mumaso, you should start seeing some notes. But these days in the village, I hear kwara, 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 coins only. Those are clear signs of poverty. So, we really need to find a way of mobilizing this money. And health insurance, as my coming presenters are going to say, to enlighten, it is an exercise that can be done very well. Forget about the corruption and the mismanagement which everybody is shouting. You know, when you are a thief, you think everybody is a thief. So those you hear that money is going to be stolen, they are the ones, if they were given the responsibility, they would steal it. But we have software systems which we have developed. I have seen them work in many countries. With the software, you steal, yes, you attempt. The flag will come. The investigators will come. You, doctor, why did you give this kind of treatment without this investigation? Why did you charge so much? If they catch you and the penalties are good, you will fear doing it again with a strange patient. So there are so many things that really can be done under health insurance. And I think I have been warned, but the warning is justified. I think I was also winding up. I can come to the last slide. So what are the challenges we have? My Lord Bishop, policy reforms are number one. We need to reform the policy on financing so that we stop this rhetoric of free services that are free of medical care. Let everybody know wherever you go, weak or strong, you need to pay. Now, for the weak, of course, you will just be telling them don't show up. Government can arrange, and there are many technical people who can help government arrange money to care for the poor and the vulnerable as the policy is changing. Secondly, it can be a gradual process. You don't have to do it suddenly. You just start saying, you tell people, free things, we are phasing them out slowly. And the people will come to be sensitized about what else is coming. Then the other challenge we have, nationwide and at all levels, many people do not understand this national health insurance. They really need to be taught. They need to be given demonstrations on how things work. And once people have been sensitized, and I have seen it, wherever we did the sensitization, even among NOTU, COF2, these are trade unionists who are always fighting to retain their money. They were very supportive. But before they were sensitized, they were extremely hostile. So are some politicians who are fighting this scheme. The moment you sensitize them and use them as an example, don't go very far and say, at your village, haven't people come looking for money from you to take their wives and children to hospital? Yes, all MPs have suffered that. They just say, bring this thing, it is very late. We should have had it many years ago. Then politics of health. I think I've already touched the politics of health. People who simply resist and fear anything that is going to ask them to pay more. The manufacturers, the corporate organizations are the ones in the lead of this. But when you list them down, you find almost 60% of them have arrangements for their workers to go somewhere and get good medical services without paying. Either it's a clinic, a hospital within the entity, or they have bought insurance for their what? For their people. But the few who want to enslave Ugandans, and I call it enslaving, I am sick, you can't buy me a Panadol. Because you say you are already paying me a lot, you have paid the pay as you earn, What is all that you are paying for that is better than my health? Health is the number one, the rest do what? Come next. But people are saying money is the number one, other things next. So when you go into the politics of money and health, you'll find there is a mismatch. So, ladies and gentlemen, a lot has gone, a lot of water has gone under the bridge. But I'm so glad that we have reached this level of Parliament passing the bill. The struggle is to have it assented to. And I call it a struggle. It's not automatic. We need to find a way of getting the president to listen to what His Eminence has read. We need to give more justification. All those guys who are saying it is going to drive the cost of doing business into the roof, say it, but back it up with facts and figures, not just rhetoric. It's not much money, but they are just resisting for the sake of resisting. Let's try, let's struggle, let's fight. I do believe we are going to have this scheme. Thank you so much.
Wow. Thanks so much. Another round of applause, please. Thank you so much, Dr. Francis Runomi. You have actually said one of the most comforting things in parting as you ended. What do we have to do? What should we do to have a good, a good cow you are describing, but we are seeming not to have it? But first of all, you said it all that we need to be organized. We need to be organized. We don't have to throw away our calculators and spend the money. You have told us that only 1% of Ugandans are insured and that you, even yourself, you are not. So there's no free lunch. Thank you so much. You have also told us the reasons why we are here. Because we came here to see how we can put our voice to what is happening so that we have a national health insurance. But why don't we have it? You have told us the fears of the president. You have told us what is happening. You have told the bishop that the money he spends when he pays for his bills is not only that. Out of pocket, that is at 7%, actually it's more, because it also includes the money his son pays for fuel when he goes to see him, and the money he will pay, and also the work he has left, and maybe other things. So the whole economy runs around that organization. Thank you so much. And at some time, you told us about Bataka Kwezika. And we are very happy about that story of Bataka saving themselves. And the man who is going to come up is also a specialist of community health insurance. Mr. Frederick Bakaire, who is going to tell us about dispelling the fears. We should not be afraid. Things can happen. He has, since 2000, he has been a specialist in community health insurance. He's running community health insurance in 15 districts. He has been on the task force helping the Minister of Health, cooking this bill and what came out. There was a task force that has been running for several years. And they are all happy and celebrating those people on the task force. Mr. Bakaire is also the executive director of Save for Health Uganda. It is a community health insurance running organization. I will not say much about it, but I want to invite him. I hope he's online. He's addressing for us online. Actually, I think he's seated somewhere in Iruwero, where he's also actually saved a few minutes to talk to us as he goes back to another meeting on social community health insurance. Mr. Bakaire, if you're online, please unmute and address us.
Thank you so much, Achilles.
Your Eminency, the Bishop, and all dignitaries in the room. Good morning, all of you, all protocol observed. I want to first of all thank you for organizing this event and for giving me the opportunity to speak to this very auspicious congregation. Very good thanks to the presentations that have happened before me. His Eminence gave a very good presentation that I feel summarizes almost everything that we wanted to achieve out of this meeting, and he has helped ease a lot of what I had prepared to say. Also, special thanks to Dr. Onumi, who has actually given very good insights, not only about the past, but also what has been done and what we plan to do. I also, in a special way, thank him for the efforts which he led while in the ministry. I think most of what we have today, we have to say it is the result of Dr. Onomi's efforts. And I appreciate him because in 2008, he recruited me onto the task force, which has helped design this bill that we are happy and proud of today. Actually, yesterday I spoke to you briefly. I told you that actually if Dr. Onumi was going to speak and Dr. Bukenya, my presentation would have been much better if I was focusing on experiences from the community health insurance. But of course, I was overruled, and I must say most of what I wanted to speak to the participants this morning has already been said, and therefore some of the time will be saved. I will not be repeating what has been already said. I'll just be supplementing to what has been said. So my presentation, as actually is mentioned, is basically trying to build a case for the national insurance. Dr. Mia said the task ahead is to convince the president to assent. So we must have a good case to convince him. So, but there are some fears which we have to dispel so that we speak with one voice and as a united voice so that everybody understands that we badly need this scheme so that it gets signed and then implemented. So let me go to my slides quickly. Next slide, please. So if we don't have a national insurance scheme, what are the other options? I think Dr. Ruby also asked this question. Do we want to maintain the status quo? Do we want to ask donors to continue funding our health system, which is of course not sustainable? And they're already suffering from fatigue. So we need the reforms, and I think that's why we all think that the national health insurance, it has the potential, is a potential solution to some of these problems that we have in our financing system, which Dr. Onumi has already alluded. Next. So how health services are financed in Uganda? One, general tax revenue. Of course, this is what we mostly prefer because we all pay tax, and if that money could finance all our health services, well and good, but that is one of the sources. Secondly, private out-of-pocket or user fees. Thirdly, the donors, the external funding, and then the contributory schemes. These are not many, but I will not go back into them because Dr. Onumi has already elaborated on them. Next. So, health financing system, what I would like to add to the previous slide is that it's not just about raising money and more money and more money. Actually, when we talk about NHIS, it has the potential actually to make the financing more effective. And that is what I try to show in this illustration, that when money is mobilized, then the health insurance can help us to pull it together. When funds are pulled, then they can better be allocated through purchasing services, and then we pay the payments or definition of what we are entitled to. We just pay for exactly what we are going to decide to purchase, but as a result of pooling. So it helps improve the way the health financing system performs because in addition to mobilizing the funds, it pools them before it allocates them, and then we pay exactly
for what we have agreed to purchase. Second, continue. So some context, a little bit, although a lot has already been given on this. So the Ugandan population has already had, it stands at around 41.6 million. Up to 75% of Ugandans live in the rural areas. 68.9% depend on subsistence agriculture, while 21.4%, about 10 million people, live below the poverty line. That is according to the National Budget Framework of 2021. And only 2% of the population has some form of medical insurance coverage. I know it always ranges between 1% and 2%, so don't worry about the 1% earlier, 2%. It is always around that. But that is how we stand so far. Next. So, health financing for Uganda compared to recommended budgets. Again, Dr. Runomi has given a lot around this. I will not dwell too much, but just to recap, the public expenditure per person per year is around $17. Again, it's the fourth recommended by the UHC target. Total health expenditure by public and donors is at around, if you combine the two, government and donors, is about 56. But the target by UHC is about $86. The share of government budgets averages around 7% against what Abuja declaration targets of 15%. And then the out-of-pocket expenditure on health is 41%, which is way above the 15% recommended by WHO. So WHO recommends that people spending out of their pockets should not exceed 15%. But at the moment, Ugandans were at 41%. And that is not a very good situation right now. Continue. So, as a consequence of overspending out of pocket and the underspending by the public government, they have caused several consequences that we suffer at the moment. Firstly, is the poor quality of services. Dr. Runomi had a very good illustration of the people who know where the services are and definitely cannot find their service. I will not go back to that story, but that is a clear consequence of all what I've earlier shown. Whenever we don't spend enough and we put more of the spending on the people out of pocket, then we suffer all these consequences of poor quality services, including, of course, the unfortunate ones of detention of patients because they cannot pay legal charges when people have to go to Chirugu and others, and instead of paying it to the right channels, they actually start paying the askaris and all that. And this actually what we pay informally becomes more expensive than what we would have paid if we were paying in the formal system. But this is one of the consequences of underfunding the health system and over-relying on out-of-pocket fees. Next. So the other consequences are serious repercussions on the side of us, the users. The proportion of the population whose household expenditure on health exceeds 10% of total household income or exceeds 40% of non-food income is now at 5.8%. Overall, 15% of Ugandan households are estimated to be impoverished due to health expenditure. And this is data from the Ministry of Health. Imagine a total of 15% of all Ugandans have become poor just because they had to pay for medical service. And that is a situation which is very appalling and needs to be addressed. 10.6% of the sick people could not seek health care due to lack of money. This is by a study done by the Uganda National Household Survey in 2017. 10.6% of people could not seek health care because they didn't have money at the time when they were sick. 9.4% borrowed for health care. The same study found that there are a lot of people borrowing. If they need for service or health care or treatment, they have to borrow up to 9.4%. 2.4% of the population experienced catastrophic health expenditure just in 1 year. These are expenses which actually can and change the way of living in a household. People who were well off, after they go to hospital on discharge, discharge, they find poverty back home, maybe because they have sold everything. And His Eminence gave very good examples and articulated this issue very well. And that is also the situation. 2.4% of 40 million people is not a small number of people seeing impoverishment just because they went to get it. And there were many other Ugandans who are unable to seek care because they have no hope, no money, cannot borrow, have nothing to sell. A few will be rushed to health centers too late. Many will just be crippled or will not survive. And moreover, those that need care most are poor women and elderly and children. Next. So the role of health insurance, why we are actually making the health insurance case and why we think it should be assented quickly. One, it reduces the out-of-pocket spending. Out-of-pocket spending is a direct payment by individuals, healthcare providers at the time of using the services. And of course, we know if this is not regulated, it becomes a barrier, especially in the private services. They decide how much you pay out of pocket. But even in public services, because there are so many illegal payments, they become a barrier. So there is need to regulate this by making the payments during enrollment into insurance. If they are prepayment, then they stop being a barrier. But if they are not regulated, that is how they impoverish, that is how they become a barrier. So low out-of-pocket spending is an indicator that the population is well protected. Next. The other role that the insurance will play is to stop catastrophic health expenditure. So catastrophic health expenditure is when a large proportion of the households incur high expenditure on health as a share of their total consumption of income. So there are thresholds that have been set worldwide, which are known for catastrophic spending. But one of them is 10% of the total household income. So if healthcare consumes over 10% of what you earn, then you go into catastrophic spending. Or if it goes beyond 40% of your non-food income, then that is catastrophic. So basically, everybody should not be spending over 10% of their total income on health. Our expenditures should be lower than that. If it goes above that, then that expenditure is catastrophic. And all of us, as Dr. Rumi said, suffer this. Whether you are poor or rich, all of us actually end up spending catastrophically because even the rich sometimes spend beyond 10% and they sell some of their things, their assets, because of healthcare. Next. Then the other role insurance will play is to enable risk pooling. It will enable us to share the burden. Risk pooling insurance plays that very important role. If you are a population and we agree that all of us as a country, we are going to share the risk and also pool our resources, then it becomes cheaper for everyone. I have put this example here. If we have a probability of a risk occurring of 1%, and we have one population of 1,000 people and another population of 10 people, and 1% of course of 1,000 is 10 cases or events of that unfortunate event, and 1% for 10 people is going to be 1. But if the cost of one case of one event is 10,000, then it means that the 110 people, the 1,000 people, each one of them will contribute only 100 shillings, cover that cost of 10,000. Whereas the other ones who are 10, to be able to cover the cost of 10,000, each one will pay 1,000 shillings. So definitely, if we come into premiums for the national health insurance, it becomes that if the whole population is enrolled, then everybody will pay less compared if we have few people enrolled. And that is the situation today. If you go to private insurance schemes, you find one person paying a premium of 1 million. I'm sure it will be totally different if the entire population is already enrolled into the national health insurance. The amount of premium will definitely go down. And this is what this example is showing us. And that is one role that the insurance will play. Spread the risk, make it cheaper for everybody. And because all of us are sharing the risk, it is possible to support each other, but at a low cost. So, continue. This one Dr. Runumi already gave. It helps to strengthen solidarity. I borrowed this from his presentations earlier. Dr. Runumi, thank you so much, but he already gave this. So insurance will bring solidarity between the rich, the poor, the healthy, the sickly, and all those people. And that is the purpose, again, of insurance, that we actually are in solidarity with each other and we don't discriminate. Earlier, there were plans of making separate, fragmented schemes. The poor make their own schemes, the other side. The rich, their own schemes. And now, I'm glad that the bill that has been passed is now talking about a national scheme where all of us, with our differences, can be into one pool, solidarity, standing in solidarity with each other. And that is a very important role that the health insurance will play. It will make us all feel Ugandans, and that is what we are looking for. Next. Then everybody needs insurance and it benefits everybody. Again, this has already been highlighted, but let me go through quickly. To the families and individuals, how do you benefit? Why do you need health insurance? First, you don't need to have cash at that point when you are sick because it will already be covered. You only need your insurance card to be able to go to hospital. Nobody will ask you for cash. And that then makes it easy to access. Secondly, it assures you of access because they will ask you for money, but your money is already on the card. And when we pooling, we contribute according to what we can afford. But the advantage of pooling is that once we have pooled, access is based on what we need as opposed to what we contributed. So that makes it easy for everybody to access, no matter how much you contributed. It will now be, the important thing will be how much do you need from the pool. Thirdly, services will be of quality. There will definitely be money, as the example Dr. Rumi gave of Tanzania. When the money is available, we can use them efficiently, improve services, and then definitely we shall be assured of quality services. Timely use of services, there will be no delays, no worries. That is the magic of insurance. For us, we have them on the ground, community insurance schemes. Poor people, once they have the cards, when they fall sick today, they immediately go to hospital because they are not worried of having cash. They just go to hospital. If they are away from home and somebody is sick, they simply direct them where the insurance card is and they take the person to hospital. So it removes the worries. It also removes the delays. We can all get timely services once insured. Then, of course, it reduces out-of-pocket payments, which we have seen have serious repercussions, especially leading into catastrophic expenses. Poverty due to ill health, that also is a benefit how insurance helps families. And then, of course, people become more productive. Next. Then it benefits government. I think this is also the other aspect where we have to make a case to show government that this insurance benefits them. It doesn't only benefit us individuals and the family, but also the government benefits. One, productive population. The government, once people are insured, they become more productive. They don't waste time due to sickness. People are more, when they go to hospital early, they heal early, they don't go into serious conditions which require longer admission. So that makes people more productive. Then, of course, human capital for national development. Citizens are protected from high costs of ill health, reduced poverty levels, improves the trust in government, health populations, market for products, because if we are healthy, we have more purchasing power, and then the market for products increases, competitive population in the region and the global market, and of course, working population that pays tax. So government has all benefit from this insurance when it starts. Next. Then the private sector also benefits, the employers, the industries, and the earlier presenters have already also mentioned how these people benefit. But one way is that the productive employees, there is a reduced absenteeism because once people are insured, the insurance tends to enable people to seek medical services in time, And so because of that, they tend to stay longer because they are more healthy, but even when they go for services, it doesn't take long. So it becomes, at the job, people become more productive. Work with a peace of mind because they are covered, their families are covered, people will be more concentrated and concentrate more while doing their work. Then, of course, share the cost of health because of the other pooling that we talked about, not only for a few taxpayers, but everybody. So if we have a national insurance scheme, it's not only the people in the formal sector that will contribute, but even those in the informal sector, even the poor, except the indigents, which government will pay for. But as we heard, there is no free lunch. So even the indigents, government will pay for will pay their premiums, but everybody will contribute, and that makes it cheaper for even the taxpayers and those in the formal sector. Next. And then we have, of course, some common constraints, still some pockets of resistance which will remain, but which have already been highlighted.
Can you give you 5 more minutes, Mr. Makaire?
Yes, I'm almost done.
Thank you.
So this slide is just to show a bit of other resistances that we need to address as we get this bill assented to. The high cost of doing business, Dr. Rumi already mentioned this. We had that group of people who say that this will raise the cost of doing business. But luckily, in the bill that has been passed, we heard also from His Eminence that there are no rates have been actually determined in this bill. So there is chance to negotiate and come up with premiums that actually do not increase the cost of doing business. But we have also heard that these people should bring evidence because these schemes are working well in Kenya, including employers supporting the employees in Tanzania and in other places. So if there is evidence that only in Uganda it will raise the cost of doing business, yes, we need to look at that evidence. Too many reductions on salaries, that is what some people in the formal sector keep saying. And I know maybe Dr. Kenya will give more information on this, but again, the rates will be agreed upon later in the regulations, not in the law. Premiums have been removed. I know before Dr. Rumi left, we had this 4% employee, which had raised a lot of issues. But in the current bill, that has not been included. And I think we now should be at ease and wait for negotiations on that. Whether premiums are going to be afforded, that is the other area where we still have resistance, especially for the informal sector, the poor. Yes, negotiations need to be included to go into the negotiation because we still need subsidies. But since this has not been included, premiums are not fixed in the bill, that gives us an opportunity to negotiate outside once the law is passed in the regulations. Who pays for the indigents has been the other area of resistance, but the current bill has now clearly addressed this. It cites government and other sources. They will be responsible for paying the premiums for the indigents. So everybody will pay, and because everybody will pay, it will become cheaper and affordable for everybody. Whether the funds will be safe and corruption is the other area that has been critical, where a lot of people have been skeptical. But I think the current bill talks about a dependent board, which should run the scheme. And this is going to be stakeholder board, stakeholder board, which we feel should be able to govern the fund very well, and maybe they reduce the fears around that. Then loss of business by the private insurers. This has also been improved in the current bill. It talks about coexistence and supplementary services. And lastly, the fate of community-based insurance schemes. This one, of course, concerns me a lot. And I thank Dr. Kenya and the team and the Parliament, which have recommended to include a clause that recognize community-based insurance schemes. But we are not yet fully satisfied. We still think it should be improved. We are not looking only for recognition, but I think we think this should be fully integration. We want to be integrated. CBHIs need to be integrated into the scheme because they will play a role. Right now, as you heard, the way it happens in Chisizi, the way it happens in Ruwero, they are the ones who can reach the poorest of the poor. They are the ones that are mobilizing people in the villages where everybody cannot reach. So if they are not integrated, the fear is that they run a risk of running their own small funds or pools, which definitely don't bring in benefits as we expect in a single pool. So we think going forward, before the bill is assented to or later on, these schemes need to be fully integrated into the NHIS. But we appreciate the fact that now they are at least recognized into the bill. Next, if it's not the last. Thank you so much for your attention, and very grateful.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And the clapping in the house here. Those online also have a way of saying thank you, clicking somewhere. Thank you so much, Mr. Makaire. You have told us that it is possible. After all, even if it were not possible, it is needed. Everybody needs to be insured. You told us that 10% of Ugandans could not go to hospital. Sick, dying, but they could not even walk there. We don't know what happened to them. You said crippled, but I think others died. You know, even the 2% that were in catastrophic. But all of this has been, even with Dr. Ronomi, saying the case of out of pocket. I think by the end of today, if we know what out of pocket means, we shall know the need for insurance. And you have also told us solidarity. After all, if the more the people are insured, the less we shall pay. Some people who are rich actually will pay a bit more, but it is true, they will not fall sick. And all that money will help to treat the poor. That's what it means, that the healthy actually also pay for the unhealthy. And that is solidarity, and that's what our Uganda is. And thank you so much also for stating clearly as you are parting that the monies don't only come from financing from the people, but also other people will put in. And Dr. Onomi said, so that other people can say that, let me pay for this one. Let me pay for 10 people. Like Dr. Onomi said, actually we had in Kisumu, some people say, donors say, let us contribute for 10,000 people, premium. And things happen. I think you have said it all, Mr. Bakai, that it is possible and the opportunities, and I think the audience here is getting prepared to say what they have to say. But all of that is why not. You have asked a few questions to Dr. Kenya, who is coming on. And Dr. Kenya, you have asked him to do something more for health insurance. You have also said that in the bill there is no rates. People have been talking about 100,000, 4%, and seems it's not there. Dr. Kenya should confirm as it comes. Dr. Kenya is the chairperson of the Health Committee of Parliament, is the man who has been behind this for the last 5 years and more to make sure that this bill passes. Dr. Kenya, we know that he stood when government was hesitant to bring it, and he threatened to bring a private member's bill. It seems he likes this bill so much. So, Dr. Kenya, why do you think it is now the time to have this bill? What is that law? What is that in the law that the private sector is afraid of, and the president is also agreeing with them? So, are there opportunities? Why are we here? What should we do to have this bill happening? If you are online, Dr. Kenya, please, we are waiting for you. Dr. Kenya, we shall give you as much time as you have to save us, because we have run out of time.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Dr. Kenya. Please go ahead. We can as well see you. So.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you, Dr. Kenya.
Thank you. Yes, good morning. Oh, good afternoon to everyone who is in this meeting. Yes, good afternoon, everyone. Happy to be here to talk to you. Hope you get me very well. I'm getting network challenges. I hope you can get me. Well, actually, you started with the question of why do you think it is the time for the bill? I don't know. I came in late, but Runumi usually gives a very good background on how long it has taken to get where we are. He says the story started in 1989. So I think with that background, you can know that we are actually where we are supposed to be, or we are late. We should have been where we are yesterday. But the background to this is that we are all aware that Ugandans spend a lot on health. And if you look at the World Bank report, which you actually is usually quote, it shows that Ugandans spend 41% out of pocket expenditure on health. It means that many Ugandans are becoming poorer because of health. Secondly, without going to what Dr. Runumi might have said, we have an NRM manifesto of 2016-2021 that talks of phased implementation of a national health insurance scheme. So we are there by plan or by design. Thirdly, if you look at the health sector development plan, health sector strategic plan, NDP 2 and 3, we are where we are because of those plans. If we say that Uganda moves on plans, then we are where we are supposed to be based on what we planned and what we plan to give people. So we are where we are because we are supposed to be there. But I don't know whether Dr. Runomi told you the story that he started developing his bill, made his bill, and then the people from Rwanda came and borrowed his bill and implemented. And also the Tanzanians are implementing, the Kenyans are implementing. So in the region, we are an island as Ugandans. We are only comparable to, I think, South Sudan, which is a very new state. But the most important component is how is this going to affect the Ugandan? Because when I'm in Bukuya and my neighbor wants to go and have a delivery, possibly a normal delivery by cesarean section, at the nearest government facility, the resources may not be there to support the whole process. So they sell their maize plantation or their coffee plantation when it has just flowered. The maize one, we call it kapola. And they sell it very cheaply because they want to access resources to be able to access healthcare. And so by the time they come back, they end up being much poorer. And so the bill, the object of the bill is actually, I don't know whether Dr. Runomi still told you that, I don't know, Dr. Runomi, I don't know whether he still Dr. Runomi, I don't know whether he mentioned that the insurance in Uganda covers only 1%. That is the community-based insurance and the private insurance. So the object of the bill is to bring in the big portion of the Ugandan to be able to benefit from protection from health expenditure. So that is the summary of the beginning. I'm not going to take a lot, by the way. Secondly, in your communication, you asked me to talk about the challenges. The challenges have been mentioned by Makaire first because one, Uganda Manufacturers Association, I'm told one time they whispered to the president that the bill will raise the cost of production. But even when you go with what is in the certificate of financial implication, which talks about 4% with the employer contributing 2% and the employee contributing 2%. Most of these manufacturers actually pay their people between 100,000 and 200,000 if you are to raise the cost of production. So you can do the mathematics of what the 4% is or the 2% is, and then you see that actually for every employee, you may need to be paying 4,000 shillings or 8,000 shillings And if you have 100 employees, 4,000 times 100, that is about 40,000 or something like that in a month. So it is not a very significant increment, but that is one of the fears. Secondly, most of the people fear the unknown. They think that this is something new, which I'll talk about in the positives. They think that this is something new that cannot be implemented in Uganda, but it is being implemented in Kenya, it is being implemented in Rwanda, it is being implemented in Tanzania. The third thing that is a challenge is that people fear corruption. And this is a good meeting of faith leaders. So people fear corruption. That is another big challenge, that corruption, people are going to steal the money. And so that is the fourth component. And the third one. The fourth one is also government is scared, because in the bill, we say that all Ugandans are supposed to benefit from this scheme. They're supposed to be members of the scheme. And the Minister of Gender is supposed to come and categorize Ugandan in two groups. And the worrying group is the one of the indigents, the young, and those that are old. And the premiums for these people will be paid by the government. And so it would mean that actually government is going to spend much more in health. By law, it is going to invest an extra of about 700 billion to 1 trillion shillings in order to improve healthcare, which would be good for all of us Ugandans, but maybe based on the priorities they have now, adding 1 trillion shillings in the health sector is going to be a big challenge. So that is where the challenges are. But now, what are the positives that we can look at? What you talked about, the premiums, for instance, is that the bill doesn't mention any premium. It talks about actuarial scientists determining premiums that will be discussed by stakeholders, including government and employers, and we agree on a way forward. So it doesn't talk about the premiums within the bill. Though the original certificate from the Ministry of Finance had proposed 100,000 annually from the informal sector, and those in public service and the formal employment is where you talk about the 4%. The second positive, as Makaire said, is that insurance is not entirely a new concept. What is happening in Rwanda, what is happening in Kenya, what is happening in Tanzania can also happen in Uganda. But also within Uganda, we have community-based health insurance schemes, the one Makaire runs in Ruwero and the ones of Chisizi. And even the church, actually, before the onset of COVID, had proposed a partnership with the Equity Bank and the Protestant Medical Bureau to offer health insurance to Ugandans. After studying it, it's only that COVID came in and disorganized them a bit, which would have been a very good idea. The third component, the third benefit of the insurance would be that now we are going to increase coverage and protection. Now we are only, the taxpayer is only paying to protect Dr. Kenya from catastrophic health expenditure. Because for me, I'm a member of parliament, so the taxpayer is paying for me to access health insurance. I just walk in anywhere with my AAR card and I access healthcare. But the bill now is going to make it mandatory for the taxpayer to access the basic health care from the beginning. So if I'm in Bukuya and the nearest facility is a faith-based facility where you pay something little, but it is accredited, I will access that one and get the basic starting care from there. So it will increase coverage and protection of more Ugandans than the 1% who include myself. The fourth one is that this is going to improve accountability. Because if we agree that if I'm going for healthcare, this is what I'm entitled to as outpatients, I will be able to ask questions. So whoever is in charge will be accountable. I expect the healthcare worker there. This one is also going to, the bill is also going to increase availability of resources in both the public and private sector, because the public facilities will be given extra pay for the services which they have offered on top of the usual funding by government. And then this will ultimately protect Ugandans from poverty. Most people are wondering how Tanzania has moved to middle income. Insurance is one of the contributory factors because Tanzanians are protected from catastrophic health expenditure. Therefore, they save and they are likely to invest. And the worry is that we can't implement this thing, it is so big. But even in the government plan, in the manifesto, which we are ending next week, when the president is swearing in, had talked of phased implementation of the health insurance scheme. You can't bite the whole thing from the beginning. No, you have to start with basics by big government paying for the children and the women. The Kenyans, I'll give you an example. The Kenyans have something called Linda Mama that has been growing. They said that now, I'll give examples. Whoever is insured will be able to access the normal delivery in any facility, whether private or not, that is accredited, that is nearest to them. So they started, if you say, for instance, 150,000, whether you go to Nakasero, that 150 will be paid there if you are insured. Whether you go to Mitiana Hospital, whether you go to a private facility in Mitiana, that 150. Whether you go to the private facility in your village that is accredited, that 150 is paid for by government under the Linda Mama. After a few years of running that successfully, they went into additional for delivery cesarean section. And they said for the first 2-3 days, we shall pay for your stay in the facility. But if your delivery is complicated and you stay for more than 3 days, then government, the insurance may not be able to pay for you at that level. So everyone would access even cesarean section, which is an emergency. So after 3 days, it is anticipated that this has ceased to be an emergency, and you've gotten the basic health care, the baby is saved, and the mother is protected for the first 3 days where they could be looking for money. So I'm sure the bill has been now sent to the president because the legal team of parliament was working for the last 1 month to capture all the amendments proposed by the committee. So the bill must be the president, and I'm sure he's going to assent because this is what he has been talking about. Middle income status, we won't get there without protecting Ugandans, without saving, without Ugandans being able to save. Because even now, even if you bring parish model to develop Ugandans in the village, the money someone has gotten for his pigs, for his cows, for his goats, for his coffee, will end up using it for healthcare if they are not protected. So I'm sure the president, the good economist is going to do that. But also I'm sure we have the team representing the Mufti, the Archbishop. I see Bishop Serwada also. Our team is big enough to seek audience and we discuss and we understand. We stop rumor mongering. We understand from the president's perspective what are the challenges. But also the second good thing is that usually when the president disagrees with the decision of parliament, he puts his reasons in a well-written letter and it is sent to the speaker, and the speaker reads to us, and these issues, we address them. When he sends back the bill, we address his issues because we need a starting point. So briefly, I'll stop there, Mr. Achilles, and then I wait for what other questions you may be having.
Thank you so much, Honorable Dr. Michael Bukenya, for being not only brief but also to the point, so that everything is clearly seen and heard and understood. I request that people, if you have really appreciated the speaker, give him another hand clap and appreciate his time. As a person, one of the moderators, I would like to announce that we are remaining with 50 minutes to finish the meeting. And much as we would be late on some of other activities, we must finish on time. That means we will miss out on some other things in order to finish on time. This will be in honor of people who drew the program, but also in honor of our friends who would like to be somewhere else after 1 o'clock. So I request that everyone pays attention to time, so that if we call upon you, you use 1 or 2 minutes so that we are able to save time. Honorable Dr. Ukenya, thank you for telling us the urgency for this bill, but also to address some of the challenges, but also the positives, but also what you called benefits of the bill. I think since the time we started in the morning, everyone is now positive about the bill. We all need it. You know, one of the problems we have as Ugandans is lack of getting information. So I appreciate the organizers of this and hosts of this meeting, the Faithful Family Health Initiative, but also partners in population development, regional office. Thank you for organizing this meeting and hosting it so that the public is able to hear more about the bill and also get to know what needs to be done. Now, what is remaining on the agenda is plenary discussion, and I request that let me first announce that we are remaining with 5 minutes to finish the plenary discussion. That's to show that we are late. We are not able to keep the time, but we have to use the remaining time in order to benefit from it. So what we are going to do, we have a chat box. Those who are online, you can grab the opportunity of using the chat box, type something that you would like to contribute towards the discussion, because you may not get an opportunity to speak. But also, in order to save time, since we have different categories in the meeting, we can call upon representatives of those categories to hear at least one person. If you are online, you can type something in the chat box. If you are attending physically, you can speak, but use 1 minute to contribute towards the discussion. So I would like to begin by calling upon born-again faith. Those who fall in that line of faith, would you contribute something towards the discussion? And then we can hear one from the Muslim faith, and then one from Church of Uganda, then one from Catholics, if any, then one from Orthodox, one from SDA, one from CSOs, civil society organizations, then one from media, one from Parliament of Uganda. Of course, Dr. Ukenya, since Dr. Ukenya has spoken, we can say, hey, that one is covered, because she has represented all. And then medical bureaus, and then we can hear from National Population Council. Just one word, 1 or 2 words, so that we use minimum time remaining, and then we go ahead and maximize the use of the time we have for the day. And then when we finish the responses, then we'll go ahead and go to the next item on the agenda. So if you are here representing any of those, Apostle Joseph Silwada, we had expected you to lead us in prayer, but I saw you online. If you are there, please speak on behalf of the born-again faith, and then any others on born-again will type in the chat box. Thank you. Dr. Silwada?
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Chair. My name is Dr. Joseph Silwada. I'm the presiding apostle of the born-again faith. I'm grateful for the last 2 hours that I've sat here to listen. And I'm also grateful to God for the miracle of communication science. I am in Europe, and it gives me pleasure that I've not missed out on anything. A very enriching discourse indeed. Thank you, Dr. Bukenya, for mentioning my name. I am grateful that you did. First and foremost, I need to hear from the panel the issue of assurance. I know the insurance part, but the assurance. Is this a Ugandan, totally Ugandan-based investment scheme? Can other people come in? Can other people come in and also invest in the scheme so that when payments or coverings are done, they are not based on just the Ugandan mandate, but there are other people in it. While we totally agree with the scheme and appreciate it and welcome it, we have those fears that we have to put aside for our people, that our people would like to know whether this will actually happen and help our people within our groups. Secondly, another question is about our beliefs. Is the insurance system or scheme considering some of the beliefs that we hold to heart? So that, in other words, can we have, like in the community-based scheme, can we have something that really covers our beliefs as leaders and as faiths, so that if there are conflicts elsewhere, within our little bracket, we are safe and safeguarded? My 2 cents for that. I thank you so much. We welcome the project. We welcome the scheme. We thank Parliament for considering this, but please continue to speak in the area of assurance. Is this thing really going to work? Are people not going to lose money? Because down the line, 2, 3, 5 years down the line, somebody can just come up and say, do you know what? Somebody stole all the money. So we have nothing to pay for whatever you paid for. I thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Apostle, Dr. Joseph Serwada. I believe your worries are many people's worries. So if we continue with those worries, then where are we going to end? It means we will not begin. We need to begin so that we see how it works. Allow me to give the microphone again to His Eminence, the Deputy Mufti of Uganda Muslim Supreme Council, because he must leave, but he cannot leave before he gives us a word, and then he can go.
I'm quite sorry that I have to leave earlier. This is our last Friday of the month of fasting, and I was expected to conduct a prayer. Therefore, would wish to seek an excuse from you to allow me to go. However, my major concern is for us to prioritize the call for action, whatever the critical stages that are remaining, the gaps, and things like that, like those ones, we shall go ahead to kind of continue to address them. Otherwise, we should not keep lagging behind on this very primary and core service that is needed for safeguarding life. Indeed, the welfare of humanity is something that is very important. The welfare, generally, in our country is still very low, cutting across all the ages, for children, for the old, for the whichever you look at it, and then compare with other nations. I think we need to not to keep behind, and we need to push the wagon so that this implementation of this comes on, whatever the remaining gaps are. I thank you and I wish you a fruitful deliberations.
Thank you very much. In other words, you are saying we should stop from being hearers and not being doers. We should be both the hearers and the doers of what needs to be done. Let's go ahead and hear someone. Okay, a member here. You can give a microphone.
Thank you, Chair, Bishop.
Then you also mention what you represent.
My name's Pastor Samuel Kizito. I come from the Seventh Adventist Church. I am the one in charge of health. I am happy to be here, and I have appreciated the entire presentation about this insurance. I have one observation and then probably 3 questions. My first observation on what I have heard from the presenters and what I have seen is the fact that Ugandans are already financing, we're already financing our health because I have seen 41% that we are putting in. And therefore, we are already doing what we are talking about. So we just need to actualize it and make it official such that we really have that insurance because we already are financing it. Now, the other question is I wanted to know more about how are we going to utilize our faith-based structures, especially in those local how can we utilize our faith-based structures to mobilize the communities, the members of our communities to get involved in this insurance financing? Then the other thing I wanted to know more, how is the local peace person who is not working, formally having a formal employment, going to benefit in this? Because that we've been having the funds are easy to collect because they are organizations where people work, and it's very easy to collect the resources. So I'm wondering the people there in the communities, the peasants who are not working anywhere, how will they be able to be involved in the scheme? Then the other thing is it possible, because this information we've seen here, is it possible to have kind of similar sensitization and awareness creation in the various different faith-based organizations where we can bring together the leaders, the bishops, the pastors, the muftis? Then we have teams like we've had here come and talk to them as a way of creating more information and sensitizing so that we can be able to support this bill. Those are the issues I had. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. A representative from SDA. This is very great. I believe me, because I'm managing time, there will be no time to respond to questions. But I request the hosts of this meeting, some of these things to be noted as there will be some of the actions to take when we finish this meeting, but also to ask Dr. Bukenya, Honorable Dr. Michael Bukenya, as they continue to finalize in the Parliament and especially after the President has assented on the bill, how can it be rolled out? How can it be implemented? All these questions must be addressed during that time. If we had time, of course, even Dr. Runomi would speak to these issues, because he's an expert on them, but we don't have time. And so let's keep going, and then we shall see how we will reach at the tail end of this meeting, whether Dr. Runumi will also be able to comment. Anybody from the Catholics or Orthodox or Church of Uganda or media or civil society organizations? 1 or 2 minutes, please. I said, if you can't get a microphone, of course, after I have finished accepting 2 from here, we can have 1 online, but those online have an opportunity to type in the chat box so that you don't miss out on what you'd want to communicate. Okay, member?
Thank you. My name is Nachimgwa Sarah Olga, and I work with Prudential Assurance. I do not belong to any of those. But can I direct my suggestion and question direct to Dr. Francis Runomi? Assurance companies always have regulators. So when you were speaking, I actually did not hear anyone responsible for the behavior and all other things when this bill is passed. So I'm asking, who is going to be the regulator? Because with time, the stakeholders, I don't think they will be able to handle all issues in different areas of Uganda. Another thing is, can we consider sending it to people in a point of view of catastrophic planning? Because people in Uganda have a tendency of tackling a problem when it happens. So can we kind of, when we are sensitizing people, can we show them that before something happens, can you prepare for it? Because this is what I'm saying, preparing for things before they happen. We are seeing issues of Buddha. It has been happening for a long time, but people wait for it to happen and then they start collecting clothes, doing all that stuff. But can we tell people, do planning before something happens? They should prepare for sickness before the sickness happens. Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate. Someone next. We had a hand, him first, and then you can come next.
Thank you so much.
You mentioned the category, and then we will know that that category is represented.
Yes, thank you so much. I'm Father Robert Mutiaba from the Diocese of Chindamitiana. My concern is about the sustainability, because we have, of course, as you know, in Uganda, we have unemployed, we have low-income earners, and of course, high-income earners. So now, how are we going to sustain? Because most of the projects have failed because of this issue. We need to look into that. I think we shall have one of the members to answer that.
Okay, thank you so much. The Catholic faith has been represented. Next.
Thank you, my Lord. I'm Dr. Ronald Kasiaba. I'm the Assistant Executive Secretary of the Uganda Catholic Medical Bureau. I represent a network of Catholic hospitals and health facilities. There are about 296. In the last 1 or 2 years, the Catholic Health Network has lost around 102 billion Uganda shillings in people who cannot pay and those who escape. So we have a new terminology of escapees. And these people just don't simply decide not to pay. They can't afford. So we are losing money. If there was a mechanism where we could have a pool so that we don't lose these such huge amounts of money from the Catholic Health Network, and I know it's happening in the Protestant Medical Bureau, Muslim Medical Bureau, and Orthodox Medical Bureau, the 4 major bureaus in this country, medical bureaus, we would be having people wouldn't be fearing to come to the facilities, because you come with the intention of escaping. Or you come, and once you feel slightly better, you get a friend at the gate who allows you to go and look for food, and you continue. go back home. When you get sick, you decide now to go to another hospital. By the time you realize it, you have gone to all hospitals and you are just sneaking out. So from the Catholic Health Network, I would like to add my voice to the religious leaders, especially, that we need to get this bill assented to yesterday. And I think Dr. Runumi spoke well. We need to encourage the president that despite the fears that they keep telling you, we can fix the ship while sailing and we are sure it won't sink. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I will request my colleague here to read some of the messages that have been written, but also those who can access the chat box, they can as well tell us their contribution by those online. And then after that, we can have the National Population Council, if any word to add can go ahead and be added, and then we see how to move to the next item.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Bishop. I have not accessed the comments from the chat box from my laptop. Somebody should be bringing them up here. But the Muslim faith thought that they were not only represented by His Eminence. It's a gentleman who was dying to speak, but he went with him, wrote this message. He's Muhammad Al-Alumin, the Secretary for Social Services, Uganda Muslim Supreme Council. He has written 3 points. One is very brief. We highly and strongly support this scheme. Let it please happen. The second point, we need to seek audience with the president so that we support the process of assentment. The third point, he says that the religious leaders and faith-based organizations should partner with national health insurance scheme to sensitize the public to know what is happening and how this will be implemented. That's what I have so far.
Okay. Can we have one from National Population Council speak?
Yeah, National Population Council is represented by Dr. Betcha Dondo, Director of Family Health. Dr. Betcha Dondo, please go ahead.
Our friends online will not be able to hear your message. Hey. So, okay, it has been sanitized. Thank you, Doctor. It's not turned on. Sorry, Doctor.
I don't know what is.
You are now being heard.
Now you can hear
it's
me.
okay
Sorry
now.
about
Thank
that.
you.
So what I wanted to say, I think this is the time. So if we are going to assess whether we have achieved the targets of Third National Development Plan, and one of indicators is the National Health Insurance Scheme, then we must ensure that it is very well rolled out. So there is no doubt about it, and it is going to increase the quality
Okay. Thank you for that message. Now, as we prepare for a call to action, any other messages? Any other responses before we move on to the next item? Because civil society organizations, media, of course we had medical bureaus represented. Of course we will have someone from Orthodox also speak, although he has another capacity. But if there are no any other responses, in any case, we've already run out of time. I would like to request Florence, if you are online as media expert, if you can take the next probably 8 to 10 minutes and you speak to us, and then I request those who are preparing a call to action to do the needful, and then before the call to action, if we still have some minutes, we can have Dr. Unumi respond 1 or 2 minutes, and then we go ahead and do a call to action.
Thank you, Bishop. Thank you, everybody. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you. So I appreciate all the presenters. They've made a very strong case for the National Health Insurance Service Bill, for it to be ascended to law. And I want to have this conversation with my media colleagues who I know are within either in the room or online. We've had a lot of speakers say we need to sensitize, we need to go out and talk to the public. And I think this is where our role as media comes in. We reach places beyond our ministers in churches and in mosques. We reach more people as media than our leaders in the religious circles. And so this is our opportunity, A, to explain the bill. What are the details of the bill? What is the benefit? And also the comparisons within across the East African region. We have Rwanda, we have Tanzania, and we have Kenya pushing the universal health care. Now in Kenya, there's the National Health Insurance Fund, but now there's also the universal health care, which is being piloted in different counties in the country. And so far we have seen that even with as little as 20 shillings, 20 Kenyan shillings, people are able to access medical health, even medicines and surgeries. So it is critical that Uganda also forms part of East Africa to do something about it. And this is where my media colleagues come in, that without sensationalizing this conversation, giving people the facts. And the facts have been given by the different speakers. You know, we had Dr. Runumi just giving us the history. And so sometimes I know as media people, we have a challenge of saying, we've already covered this story. But I think there is more to cover, and there is more to keep on showcasing the stories that we see in the field of women struggling to get healthcare, of people struggling to get healthcare, and in comparison to the countries around us, what is possible. So for me, it is imperative that we take time as media, interview the people that are present here. I know there'll be a brief that you'll be given, which will have the contacts of all the speakers who have spoken. Take time, interview them, be explained to, so that you do not misquote, and also you give evidence of the need to have this bill assented into law for the benefit of Ugandans. And no country starts with a perfect bill or perfect law. And this is the conversation I'd like to urge my media colleagues to do. I am available, and if you reach out to Jackie and if you reach out to Achilles, I'm available to help you break it down and give you evidence in the 3 countries, the 3 East African countries that surround Uganda, to see the evidence of what has been possible, but also a reminder that Uganda as a country, or the government, has duty to provide healthcare to its citizens. And you as media, your job is to perpetuate and advance the conversation of the right of every Ugandan to healthcare. And this is just one of the way of every Ugandan accessing healthcare. Yes, there will be challenges, and you can enumerate those challenges in your stories. But this is a very good story of religious leaders coming together and advancing the conversation of universal healthcare or the National Health Insurance Services Bill that needs to come to law to support conversations to do with healthcare services. Lastly, because I know we don't have time, is the fact that as we see the vaccine conversation across the globe and countries holding vaccines, countries unable to support others, we are seeing countries looking inwards. And also the journalists, if you want an international angle, President Biden has just put his weight on support of countries reducing the manufacturers of vaccines, reducing their lock on patents and all that across the globe. And so what does that mean? That means there is now conversation about access at the global level. But it is so critical based on that conversation and the struggle of even getting vaccines that African countries need to concentrate inwards and start looking at money inwards to support healthcare. Because it is the beginning of us putting money that somebody else can say, okay, I see Uganda doing very well, let me support. So there are so many story angles, both global, both regional and internal, that the journalists in this group, we can look at and advance this conversation. And religious leaders are key voices of the people that you can use to advance this conversation. So Bishop, I give it back to you to take it up from there, because I know we don't have much time.
Thank you very much, Florence, for being sensitive to time. We really appreciate your sharing on media engagement. I know the media houses, they have heard, and if they want to package the message well so that it can help the community, then they need to know what to do, or else they will distort the message, and then even what the people should have done, they will not do anything. So the media houses, you have a very big role to play as far as the selling the idea to the community is concerned. Now, I know the call to action is going to be the last item on the agenda. And so before we request Father Bonavinji to lead us in that, I would like to be generous and allow some people to respond. Dr. Kenya, if you are still online, you can respond to one or two questions that have been raised. But of course, for us, we are turning those questions into statements because they are concerns of religious leaders, and some of them are going to be reflected in the call to action by the religious leaders. But if you have one or two comments to make, go ahead and make, and then I'll request Dr. Runumi also on the ground to make one or two comments, and then we see how we can go to a call to action. Dr. Kenya, are you still there online?
Still on. Thank you, Bishop. I don't know whether you can get me. Thank you, Bishop. I don't know. I don't think there are particular questions that I should respond to, apart from one from Prudential. Some lady from Prudential who said who is going to be regulating monitoring. First and foremost, the board has the Insurance Regulatory Authority as a member, but also systemically the scheme has the board and also an accreditation committee that is supposed to monitor service delivery and follow up what happens thereafter, apart on top of other legal ways of following up for disgruntlement. There was also a question about who is not working, who is formal, who is informal, how can they be, how do we reach the informal sector? In our interactions, we actually went as far as Mbarara, we went to Tororo, and many other different places. But also we interviewed the informal sector in Kampala. They received this most happily than any other component of the community. And if we are to use the IT generations, in Kenya, you can pay for your insurance, hospital insurance fund, using your mobile phone. So I think the informal sector with the current development shall be able to be accessed, and they are willing. Now that we have national ID linked to your phone, it will be easier to link up with this. So, and these are challenges that we should be happy to utilize and face. And then someone else asked about sustainability. I think this is my priest from Chinda Mitiana. That was Father Mutiaba. How is it going to be sustainable? I think when people buy in, the sustainability will come with the quality of service. Because if you've been paying every month 100,000 for malaria or every 3 months, and then you are required to pay 20,000 annually, the lady from, I think the journalist talked very well about what is happening in Kenya. From as little as 30,000 Uganda shillings equivalent, people can access significant healthcare. So as good as the thing starts and people buy in, I think the people themselves should be able to sustain it.
Yeah, Honorable Dr. Bukenya, your connectivity has frozen, which means your network is not all that very good. I hope you can hear us. If you come back on, I don't know at what point we will give you an opportunity to finish your point. But for now, we must continue because we are trying to make sure that we finish on time. Before we call upon Dr. Runumi also to give one or two remarks, I would like to request Mr. Patrick Mujirwa, who is the program manager, PPDARO, as the co-partner in this. You remember, some of you hear religious leaders, you hear interfaith, and you might be wondering, is this UJCC, is this IRCU? Not at all. This has been organized by Faith for Family Health initiative, but together with partners in Population and Development Africa Regional Office. And so we have Mr. Patrick Mujirwa here, who is the program manager for PPDRO. Let me request him as one of the host organizations to say something, and then he's the one who is going to invite Dr. Runomi also to give a word or two, and then we see whether Dr. Kenya will have come back. If not, then we go to a call to action, and then we finish our meeting.
Thank you very much, Bishop, for giving me this opportunity to say a word or two. Of course, we are very happy for 3FHI have organized this meeting and invited us to also be conveners of this very, very important meeting. We are very grateful for that. Also want to appreciate the presence of many of you whose schedules are very tight to have spared some time to come and attend this important meeting. PPDRO and indeed a bigger fraternity of civil society organizations are all enjoined and share a common need to contribute towards universal health coverage. And we think that having a scheme like National Health Insurance Scheme is one sure way of contributing to this universal health coverage. We all woke up on the 31st of March with very good news about the passing of the bill in the Parliament of Uganda. And we want to thank Dr. Michael Bukenya for this endeavor and for having inspired all the efforts in Parliament to see it up to this end. Those of us who have very passion for this scheme, we are keenly following the events on the media channels, TV, print media, and we are really very excited that something to us was coming on. But we are again taken aback when we read that the Honorable Minister for Health advised and asked the President to go slow to assenting to this bill. And therefore, having a meeting like this one is very, very important for us. Meeting of champions, we want to call it champions who we have identified, build your capacities so that you are able to understand the details of this bill, but also go ahead and be our messengers. We know when you want an opportunity with the President, you can get it. It is not difficult. And we're fortunate to have a President who I think listens. So we want you to be our champions. Reach out to the masses that you reach during your routine work and make sure that this bill comes into effect, because it's one show of making sure the quality of health of the Ugandans is ensured. I don't want to speak a lot because I know we don't have time, but you have asked, I will ask Dr. Francis Runumi to say a word or two in terms of responding to some questions that have been raised. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Patrick, for that response. Dr. Runumi.
Thank you, my Lord Bishop. Apostle Serwada, thank you for your views and comments. And this scheme indeed being a Ugandan-based scheme, we look at it as a contributory scheme by people who are on Ugandan soil. You don't have to be Ugandan by passport. But if you are in Uganda and you are bound to fall sick, you need to have insurance. The way we have to buy insurance when we are traveling abroad. So if somebody is here for quite some time, as we are going to have oil business and whatever, and they are foreigners, they must have an insurance card showing they are insured either by private companies, and they can also be given a window to join this scheme. So the assurance is that there will be medical services at the time of need. So when people pay in this money, the challenge is now on the organization of the providers. They have to provide and ensure that the promised package of health services at time of need are readily available. Health workers, medicines, equipment, referral mechanisms like ambulance, everything must be in place. But that will not be there on day one. It's what will be built gradually. And with regard to beliefs, is there anything that we can do to incorporate or get different beliefs coming in? Yes, yes, yes. By the way, if you look at people standing in a crowd, the bishop will be looking at the flock. The president will be looking at the voters. And the businessman will be looking at customers. It is the same crowd. So if we use the faith-based structures, as Pastor Samuel has also requested, definitely we shall reach wide and far. Now, we have also seen that there may be a challenge in the formal and informal sector. The formal ones are the ones who have employment, they have databases, they have salaries, and it is easy to collect something from them. How about the informal? Apparently, the formal the people who are in formal payment with their families, they don't go beyond 6 million people in Uganda, out of 40. Meaning 34 million people are either in the informal sector or they are just in their villages doing peasantry work. Now, when we go to the villages, and these days I live in the village, I find they are also organized. When a person dies, they have an organization which collects money for decent burials. They have circles. Many people are involved in paying money for economic gains at the end of it all. They have other saving schemes for different objectives they have. So these are entry windows into the scheme. Mark you, we want everybody in, not only the healthy young ones, but even the sick. I mean, the way the society is composed should come in so that we don't have adverse selection. Those who are likely to fall sick, running to have insurance, and those who think they are young and healthy, not coming in. Because even the young and not healthy, I mean healthy, you have seen on the media what has been going on, skirmishes in Kampala. You are young, walking around, they are chasing a border man, he runs into you, you break your limbs, and you don't have insurance. You thought you would never fall sick, but if you see the border wards, how they are suffering and the bills associated, then you realize anybody is prone to accident or falling sick. So the informal sector is going to come through all these windows that have been created locally. Go to town here in Kampala. When you look at the registry of Kasita, all the people in Chikubo, Chiembe, Owino, Nakawa, they are just informal, but they are well organized, they have registries. These are the ones that can come in gradually to cover many people in the informal sector.
We are running out of time.
And mark you, let me try to mark you, if people have not paid into the scheme, they are not eligible to receive services under this scheme. So people will tell others, are you a member? Have you paid? If you have not paid, my brother, my sister, you are not going to. I think Olga, somebody has already answered your issues. Ronald Kasiaba, I think it's okay. You're also giving us information. Betty, Dr. Betty, that was good. Many documents speak to the effort of achieving, having a national health insurance scheme in place, because they all appreciate what it can do to help these voters who vote day in, day out, day in, day out, and yet things are not being improved. So once this scheme is in, it's one of the low-hanging fruits the voters can get from the system. Thank you.
Another round of applause, and I appreciate Dr. Runumi for those closing remarks and even response to the questions that have been raised. Believe me, we must finish the meeting, but we have to save the best for last, or last for best, or no, best for last. And that is nothing other than a call to action. Like any other preaching, when you finish the preaching, you make an altar call so that you want people to put into practice the message that has been communicated. And so in our midst, we have the Executive Secretary of the Uganda Joint Christian Council, Reverend Father Constantine Mbonabinji, who comes from the Orthodox Church. I request that you receive him with a round of applause, and then he reads a statement for us. When he finishes, remember, we are hosted by Faith for Family Health, and Jackie is around. She is the one to move a vote of thanks to everyone. Those who attended online, don't sign out before Jackie speaks. And then those who are in the room also don't leave immediately after the statement, because even after her, we will have a group photo outside. And for the group photo, this is for us to organize ourselves. Those online, you will turn on your videos so that a screenshot is made by the host here for everyone who has attended online. And then those who have attended physically will go out and take a group photo, and then we finish our meeting. But of course, that will be after Jackie has communicated. So now we wait for a call to action. Father Mbonamiti.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I'll also be leaving immediately after this call to action because I'm going very far. I'm going to Kanungu. We lost the retired bishop called John Wilson in Tegerize, and burial is tomorrow. And as the executive secretary of Uganda Joint Christian Council, which brings Christians together, my presence there is necessary. Thank you very much. And for the Orthodox, one wrote and said, Uganda is very good at making very good proposals, but they are implemented by our neighbors. Is it going to be the same case? Secondly, that laws in Uganda remain on paper. And he quoted also the seat belts in the buses are still there. Are they still there? Are we not going to have this as also part of the seat belts? He said, and he ended up saying, please, we should not politicize this. Let it be a journey for every person. Let us not politicize this national health insurance scheme. Thank you very much. The interfaith religious leaders' position on national health insurance scheme. Please follow. I thought they were bring it there. Please put it there so that everyone can follow it very well, because my pronunciation might not be very good, and you might not understand what I'm saying. At least if they can hear me and I might say hello, road, instead, mine well I was saying road. Then it might... 7th May 2021, Rweza Training Conference Center. Father Consultative Mponaving is my name, Secretary General of Uganda Joint Christian Council, Dean of Orthodox Churches of the region. Faith and religious leaders call on President Yoweri Museveni to sign the National Health Insurance Scheme Bill into law. Eminent and senior faith, religious leaders, and we gathered here today affirm our position on the importance of National Health Insurance Scheme to the people of Uganda. We are persuaded to add our voice in this important and crucial national dialogue on National Health Insurance Scheme. We note that there is high dependence on out-of-pocket expenditure ranging from 38 to 42% of total expenditure on health, which pushes people into poverty. It is impoverishing and catastrophic, especially to the poor. Out-of-pocket expenditure refers to direct payments by individuals to healthcare providers at the time of using the services. They are sometimes called user fees or cost sharing. Similarly, high dependence on external donor financing of around 42% makes the country vulnerable, especially if priorities of donors change abruptly. Funding can be cut at short notice, and the population that has been depending on aid will suffer. Government spending on health is low and almost stagnant over years at around 7 to 8% of the total budget, compared to a budget target of at least 15%, yet health needs are ever increasing. Much as government strives to provide free health care services at the point of use in government health facilities, the reality on the ground is different. Consequently, a big proportion of the health expenditure is from households paying cash to health care providers when they seek health care out of pocket. The country needs a health financing system that is fair, where resources are pooled in one basket, where people do not have to pay cash to access health care services, and the burden is spread across the population. To us, this is the role that National Health Insurance Scheme will play. 3, we hold the view that the National Health Insurance Scheme is a progressive resource pooling mechanism where the rich subsidize for the poor. The health subsidize the treatment of the sick, and the young subsidize the treatment of the elderly. This scheme, as passed by the Parliament, will be financed by employee contributions from the formal and informal sectors, as opposed to taxes or community-based health insurance. 4, we applaud the Parliament for passing the National Health Insurance Bill on the 31st of March 2021. The passing of the bill concluded a 34-year struggle. Can you imagine that? The bill positively includes a very comprehensive list of preventives, promotive, and curative services based on the Uganda National Minimum Health Care Package, as well as a wide range of family planning information and service. We appreciate the many benefits that National Health Insurance Scheme will offer to the Ugandan people, government, private sector, services providers, employers and employees, policymakers, and legislators. Benefits to the general population health service users. 1, timely use of services, no financial barriers, since people do not need cash to be treated. Reduced or non-payment from individual pocket, that's out of pocket expenditure, when people seek services will limit impoverishments. Benefits to the government or to the economy of Uganda. The National Health Insurance Scheme brings additional funding to the health basket pool, especially from individuals who can afford. National Health Insurance Scheme Fund also attract development partners who can buy cards for general population like in Ghana, Kenya, and Rwanda. Additionally, competition among health service providers in the National Health Insurance Scheme will keep prices of health care services low for the government and purchaser, and to provide a good package of services. Private sector service providers, employers, and employees. Increased participation by private sector in the provision of health care to the insured population. Investment opportunities in health insurance activities. Employees who are assured of health care and can access it easily are more likely to be more productive due to limited absenteeism, more concentration, and commitment to work. Policymakers and legislators. The National Insurance Health Insurance Scheme separates roles and responsibilities for purchaser or buyer, fund holder, regulator, Ministry of Health, and other relevant bodies and service providers, hospitals, and clinics. This reduces inefficiencies and increases accountability by the various players. We are aware of the pending tasks that will follow soon as you sign this bill into law. These tasks include the development of regulations that will operationalize the National Health Insurance Scheme law, development of accreditation criteria for the service providers, development of management structure of the National Health Insurance Scheme at various levels, launching of the scheme, among others. We are concerned that since you can never be certain about when illnesses might strike, yet any delay or failure to get medical care at the time of need due to lack of cash could result into serious complications or loss of life. And that without proper and timely treatment, even simple preventable illnesses can lead to health complications. And given that there have been increased levels of poverty, rising non-communicable diseases, as well as communicable diseases, including epidemics such as Ebola and COVID-19, we, the senior faith and religious leaders and scholars gathered here today, make a passionate appeal to His Excellency the President to assent to the National Health Insurance Scheme Bill. Mr. President, the Parliament has delivered its promise. It is now upon government to deliver the law and support its implementation. Remember, our current free services are not adequate, if at all they are there. Most times, these services are not available and often must be paid for. Your Excellency, the Uganda's health sector is underfinanced and cannot deliver the national minimum health care package to all. This highlights the need to use the limited resources for poor and essential services and create health risk pooling schemes like the National Health Insurance Scheme Bill that has recently been passed by Parliament. Uganda has been and is still the only East African country without a semblance of a national health insurance scheme. Ugandans are anxiously looking up to government to finally have this insurance scheme in place. Your Excellency, there can never be a consensus, especially when it involves issues that affect majority and disadvantaged population. There cannot be a perfect system except when it starts and it is improved along the way. Therefore, we can only learn if we implement the scheme and improve it with time. We, the undersigned, affirm our position on the importance of National Health Insurance Scheme and make an urgent plea to you, our President, to sign the National Health Insurance Bill into law. Signed, so far one person has signed, Sheikh Muhammad, so far 3 people have signed. So Muhammad Aiswa, Uganda Muslim Supreme Council. Constantine Bonaving, the Executive Secretary of Uganda Joint Christian Council, already has signed. Then, because it was urgent, we really feel that it is urgent and it should have started yesterday. And Pastor Samuel Bikizito, Seventh-day Adventist Church, has also said, thank you very much. Bishop, you put your signature if possible.
Another round of applause to Father Constantine Bonabinji for reading our statement as a call to action. My colleague will continue to lead us in the last items.
Thank you very much, my Lord Bishop. Thanks very much, and I don't want to ask them to say aloud an applause, but do you want to give anybody something to say if something that has been read is not in consonant with the deliberations of today? Is there anybody who says, no, this point that Father Bonabinja said he is the one who has inserted it there, these statistics he has presented? Are you all happy with it? Should we clap for him again? At this point in time, why don't we invite our host, our chief host, Jackie, as we call you, our chief host 3 FHI and host, please, do you want to sit on the bishop's right, or you want to speak from there? Okay, thank you very much and welcome. Please, when you thank us and all the compliments, also give us some logistical information.
Yeah,
what happens
thank you.
from here.
Father Constantine Bonabinji, the Executive Secretary, Uganda Joint Christian Council, my Lord Bishop, the representatives from Seventh-day Adventist Union, Pastor, you're welcome. Apostle, who was online from the Born Again Faith, and the representation from the Catholic Church, the representation from all other faiths that have participated in this, and the medical bureaus. Our key facilitators today, Dr. Runumi, you're welcome. And thank you for partnering with us. It's the first time, but I'm sure you're going to be a constant visitor. The chairperson, Healthy Committee of Parliament, Honorable Bukenya, Mr. Bakeire, who gave us a very good keynote. All guests in the house, our partners, PPDI, thank you for joining the interfaith community. As always, this journey, we started it with all other CSOs, and I will go ahead to recognize each of the people that are here. I'm Jackie Katana. I'm the executive chairperson of Faith for Family Health Initiative. And by grace of God, the men and women of God trusted me to lead this organization. I'm not ordained. I'm just a believer. And it's a honor that you can still honor as small as we are. We are a very small organization. We sit here at Razor Training Center, but the religious leaders and the key people like the ones who are here and the ones online have entrusted to continue working with us to ensure that we have better health in Uganda. To make sure that I don't forget anyone, I will again go through the list. But allow me to apologize. I'm returning from Karamoja this morning, still serving the people of this country. So when you talk about the national health insurance, the people in this room, we don't need it. The people in Karamoja, the people in hard-to-reach areas, you even wonder why we should eat, move, and live the life we are living. Yesterday, I attended a quarterly healthy performance review meeting of one of the districts in Karamoja, and I looked at the reports. Now, the ones that Dr. Betty and all experts are always quoting are totally different. Their maternal mortality rate, you sit and say, okay, so are we in the same country? Child mortality rate, I sat because the biostatistician, and they've developed their capacity. I was glad he had a PowerPoint, and they're able to analyze the data. But what data? And the healthy workers were there. You even enter, you look at the conditions of the healthy workers, and you wonder, because when you're entering, you wonder, am I really coming in for a meeting of the healthy workers, the conditions? They are committed to work. I'll give you one example. They said that one of the reasons why there are high maternal death and child mortality, poor nutrition, every aspect of health, is because there are long distances when it comes to healthy facilities. And because we're there and a few other stakeholders, then the DHO committed and said we have primary health care, and from today we are going to make sure that there are outreaches. But we've always had primary health care. Why hasn't primary health care budget done what it's supposed to do? So there's a quotation, I told you I'm not a religious leader, but there's a quotation, I'll not say where it is to avoid any arrest by the religious leaders, but there's where the Bible says, mulabanga bwe tuli obubi, tuli bubi. And I'll not repeat anything I was following online. I will not repeat any commitment. I will not repeat any issues. My role is simple. One, once again, to appreciate you and recognize each one of you in your capacities. Born again faith, Muslim faith, Church of Uganda, Catholic, Orthodox, SDA, civil society organizations are partners. In the house we have PPDRO, we have Faith from Mary Stopes, we had Path, we had White Ribbon Alliance, we had Action for Health, around 10 that we've been moving with in this journey. Media, we have over 10 media houses in this meeting, both online and physical. We have NTV, we have NBS, we have radio, Capital and others. We have Bukede TV online. We have the print, New Vision, Monitor, and so many others. So all of you, we appreciate. As I said, it's about collaboration. It's about working together. Also allow me at this point to appreciate our facilitators of the day. Thank you, my Lord Bishop. And thank you, Archdiocese. I think as you continue to sit together, who knows, maybe you might get purple, that kind of. So thank you so much. It was a great job, and as I said, I followed. So we still need you, and we need you for actions ahead. The religious leaders have made a call to action, and I'm glad they are very senior people here. We have bishops, we have senior religious leaders, reverends, we have deans, we have field presidents, we have heads of departments. Our next action should be, how do we popularize this? And I'm glad when I was listening online, Pastor, you said, how do you help us to continue to package this information so that we take it to our people who are not here. So we need to continue to popularize. And media, we need you to continue giving the right messages. I'm glad that Florence talked about it. The media we work with speak interfaith language. And I'll be very clear. If you don't speak interfaith language, then this partnership will not continue. That means we need to speak the language that is favorable to the interfaith community. We need more consultative meetings, our partners and our donors. This meeting was actually funded by Population Action International, both for PPDRO and also for Faith for Family Health Initiative. So we need to continue to carry on with these consultative meetings. And as people of faith, we believe that the president will assent to this bill. We've not had any effort and faith. That's one thing. The many years of working with the interfaith leaders, what I've learned is that faith really works. And I've not seen where we've failed. That's why with faith, we can still come people. You can invite the same meeting, call the same meeting in a very accessible place, and you don't get many participants. Online, you could see there were only, at the beginning, there were around 30, but those were clusters, a group of 5, 10 together. So in total, we could have had over 100 people online. That's faith, and that's the grace of God. So we really thank you, we appreciate, and we continue to work together. We do a lot of policy engagement. We are in family planning, broader health, and many other aspects. We'll continue to partner with you. I don't know whether 3FHI staff, you had an opportunity to introduce yourselves. Yes, and let Jackie and Fred, if you're near, kindly quickly, so that next time, if it's not Jackie and people know, we have 2 Jackies, but you know who is Jackie who. Kindly stand where you are and introduce yourselves.
You said Uganda Family Planning Activity with the Faith for Family Health Initiative.
Thank you, Jackie. We, by grace of God, we recently got a grant from USAID and is working in 11 districts. So she's national level. She's the project coordinator.
Yes, good afternoon. Yes, I'm Samuel Masanga, and I do communications and advocacy at Faith for Family Health Initiative. Glad to host you today.
Thank you. Sam was the one communicating with everyone. You did a great job. Well done.
Good afternoon. My name is Naigaga Susan, and I work as the Monitoring and Evaluation Manager.
Thank you. We have a colleague who is doing logistics. Fred Busobozi is the Finance and Administration Manager, and myself. And we have another colleague who is not here, the Programs and Projects Director, James Nyaga, is online. Nyaga, are you online? Okay. Quickly.
Yes, I am, Jackie. And thank you all. And beautiful participation. And we look forward to taking conversation ahead. Thank you.
Thank you. Quickly, Fred.
Yeah, my name is Fred Usawaze. We are working as the Finance and Admin Officer.
Kindly, all our board members who are present, could you kindly stand for recognition? Our board members, thank you for representing. Deputy Mufti, Deputy is a board member. We have also the Archbishop. Archbishop Kazimba is a board member. We have Honorable Rachimari. Father Mtejechi, are you still online? Father Mtejechi is in German, is also our board member. We have Dr. Damani and others. So we've been supported, and we are very grateful. We promise that we'll continue to deliver. It's very important that you understand people behind us, because when we go to the communities, people ask, so who is 3FHI and who do you work with? None of you is a religious leader, so how do you understand? But we have people who are guiding us on interfaith values. Thank you so much. Fred is going to handle the logistics. All the transport, apart from media, is going to be sent, or it's already sent, online, on mobile money. And media, you're going to be handled by Fred, and also Achilles cash. So media, don't leave, you're going with all your facilitation. Once again, we are really grateful, and we shall continue to engage. We cannot thank you enough, and we believe that we are going to have impact, going to have better health to this country. Thank you.
Another round of applause to Jackie for the closing remarks, for moving vote of appreciation or thanks, and also recognizing everyone. Once again, thank you for participating in the meeting. We've been over like 30 minutes. It's because we are in Africa anyway. If we would be operating in another world, it wouldn't be over, but we can accept this. But still, we appreciate everyone's participation. Now, again, as I said, two more things. One is to take pictures. Those online, turn on your video cameras for a screenshot. And then those who are on the ground will go outside and take a group photo. When we finish, we'll go ahead and serve lunch. I hope it is ready served in the next room. Is lunch ready? Secretariat? Okay. Lunch is ready. When we finish the group photo, go ahead and serve lunch. And then those who are attending online, we wish you God's blessings. You can as well have lunch wherever you are, or go anywhere and have and help yourself. Once again, thank you. Please stand up for a closing prayer, and then we can call it a day. A reverend from the Diocese of Mityana, please come and lead us in a closing prayer.
you, my Lord Bishop. Let's pray. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Lord, we come before you to say thank you so much for this wonderful time that you have given to us. We thank you for the fruitful deliberations, and we thank you for our moderators. We thank you for 3FHI for organizing such a very wonderful meeting for us as religious leaders. And Lord, it's our prayer that you continue blessing this meeting so that we have fruits out of it. Lord, it's my prayer that you also touch His Excellency the President, even before our call to action reaches him. You have already reached him. Lord, it's my prayer that you even bless the food that has been prepared for us, as we also remember those who have not even gotten chance to get it. Lord, it's my prayer that you keep us safely as we travel back home and also to our respective places of work. We pray and believe in the mighty name of our Lord Jesus Christ.
May the blessings of God Almighty, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit be with each one of us and all our loved ones from now and forevermore. Amen.
Amen. Gomba team, greetings.
So the photograph right outside there. And in the next 2 minutes it will be done.